that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast. Shame on you!
Shame on you. My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion.
And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion.
And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog, what is it called again?
Podcast, period.
Or you're ugly. Pretty and power approved.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop with Danny Limelight, the United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance Vlog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance. God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is Jay Cal, and with me, of course, are my compadres. One would be Jaden, the other would be DKM. How are you, gentlemen? Jaden, how are you doing today? You see what shirt I'm wearing?
Yeah, dog, I see.
Because I'm part of that dog pack. I got that dog in me. Arr, arr.
Don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
I don't, hey, you know what? I don't promise nothing.
If you loved us, you would never do that again.
Who said I loved anybody?
Your wife.
Your kids.
I didn't say I didn't love them. I said who said I did.
Well, we're telling you.
Yeah, they snitched on you.
Oh, son of a bitch. So
Not
what's
our
good?
fault. Not our fault.
What's good, gentlemen?
The opposite of bad.
Oh, yes.
The opposite of the NWA.
Hey, wait a minute now. I actually thought that this week was a pretty good episode, and you did not?
I did not, and I can't wait to talk about it. And it's probably going to make you more mad than anybody when I talk about it, Jay.
I don't think that you'll make me mad. I'm curious though. Like, we'll get into it. We'll get into it in just a few minutes. But the NWA, I want to wait a few minutes because we still, still people are popping in the chat, and I don't want to get too far along without them.
What's that, real quick? What's that red dubby behind you?
The red
top
dubby.
shelf of your dubby collection.
This one?
Yes.
This is the Galaxy Grenade. I actually like this one. The only one that I'm not a fan of is not up here, and that's like the Dragonade. I don't like the Dragonade, but the the Galaxy Grenade is a good flavor. And
if you had to describe what it tastes like, what would you say?
It's kind of got a mixture of everything. Like, what it says it is watermelon, guava, and lime.
That's an interesting combination.
Yeah, it's not bad. The Dragonade one the Dragonade one tastes like it would be good with like an iced tea, like if you used iced tea instead of water to mix it, because it's very has that very lemonade kind of flavor, but not in a good way. For me, anyways.
If it's dragon fruit, I just do not like dragon fruit.
Stay away from it then. I think it is dragon fruit.
Yeah, I don't think I would. I was never a dragon fruit fan. It always looks cool, but it just...
Yeah, this is the one that I was telling you about that I like is the Big Energy Tears, and it's a blend of the finest blue raspberries. This one's very good. And then the one that my staple is the Beach and Peach. This one's not even opened yet. And then the last one that I just bought that I haven't opened yet either is the Calio cream, which is like a mango orange cream, which sounded really good to me. But I have not cracked that one open yet either.
I believe the one I had was the peach one, and I did like that one. It was good.
Yeah. We got some buddies in the chat. Jeremy's here. Sam Retro's here. Lou Thez is here. Lou Thez will be joining us in St. Louis. I think, but that's kind of cheating because Lou lives out that way.
Yeah.
What was that?
Who says did live on that way?
Doesn't count if you live there.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, look. If the NWA were ever to come out to California, perhaps with the Smashing Pumpkins, I'm going to do everything I can to be there. I know that the tickets went on sale for the show in Irvine at the 5 Points Amphitheater in Irvine, California, which is about an hour and 10 minutes away from my house. I plan to go to that event. They have a show in Vista, California, which is down towards San Diego. I won't be going to that one. And then there's a show in San Bernardino, Highland, California at the Yamahama Theater. And I kind of want to go there, but I think I have something else going on that day. So I'll get to at least one of them, hopefully.
When they come into Philly, the birthplace of the modern NWA.
You know, I think they are going to Philly. In fact, I think they're going to Philly right before the NWA anniversary show. Let me look real quick. I'll let you know.
Because I believe they're going to like a part of New Jersey that doesn't exist, like the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Let's see.
What's that static sound?
Oh, I moved. Yeah, sorry. That was my fault. I moved the microphone. I have been told that I'm not allowed to put the microphone right near the camera anymore. So, let's see. August the 11th, they're at the Yamava Theater. August 13th, they're in New Mexico. 15th, they're in Texas. 16th, they're in Arkansas. Let's fast forward a little bit. North Carolina. Holmdel, New Jersey on the 24th. The 25th, they're at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion. Wow, I guess they don't go to Philly.
Yeah, they go to the part of New Jersey nobody wants to go to.
The PC.
Wait a minute, are you saying there's a part of New Jersey people want to go to?
Yes, there's actually many parts of New Jersey people want to go to. Holmdel is definitely not one of them.
I haven't heard of any of the others.
People would rather go to Camden, and that should tell you something.
Yes, that's very, very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see, unless maybe the site just doesn't have it. I'm on SeatGeek.com. Maybe they don't have it listed, but I'm looking at all.
I didn't see it either, so I assume they're not going to Philly because Philly, even though it's the unofficial birthplace of the modern NWA, it's not very NWA friendly for some reason. Not since Jim Crockett Promotions.
Yeah, really? Wonder why. Anyway.
Did something happen specifically that you can think of?
Yeah. Philadelphia people.
Well, that's true.
What city did Shane Douglas throw the belt in? Was that Philly?
That was Philly.
That's what started it.
No.
Shane Douglas?
No, even when ECW was part of the NWA, there was a very vocal anti-NWA crowd at the time. And while Carluzzo did very, very well in New Jersey and North Jersey and New York and other parts, the Philly was not his best drawing area. Pennsylvania wasn't his best drawing area.
I mean, for years and years and years, because I'm older than the country, Philly sports fans have always been
fickle. They're fickle
assholes.
Yeah, I think actually DK is more accurate. But then again, if you had to cheer for teams like the Eagles and the Phillies and the Flyers, you're going to be less than kosher, out there.
By the way, Dave Scooby has officially invited you to an MLW event at some point.
I would like to. There's a lot of wrestlers I like in MLW. I don't always like MLW, but there's a lot of wrestlers I like in MLW. If he wants to go, I'd go with him.
Oh, there it is. We just made a love connection, guys. And I mean that in the most sincere way. MLW is now going to be covered by the other Alliance guys now that apparently the NWA is not broadcasting USA. What's interesting about that, and it's kind of something I wanted to talk about anyways, is that, for so many weeks, so many months, really since the beginning of the year, USA kind of launched on Power, on the NWA YouTube channel as not so much an alternative to Power, but enhancement content, I guess, ancillary content, if you will. And this was a little bit different because unlike the previous attempts to add additional content like TV shows, this was original content. This was new stuff. If you look at the NWA throughout the years under the Lightning One era, you had NWA High Voltage, which were single matches from the past. You had the NWA Circled Squared, which was new content, but basically talent, like tryout matches almost. It was kind of like the NWA's version of NXT. And then there was the Shockwave, NWA Shockwave, which was just a repackage of the matches that took place on the Primetime Live, those NWA theme matches. And every one of those programs only lasted just a few weeks before they faded into obscurity. USA had been around for, I think, almost over a year, right? I don't remember exactly how long that was around, but it's petered out as of late. And, they recently filmed, they had a TV taping in Chicago, and there's still been no new episodes of USA. DKM, Jaden, what do you think about that?
It's obsolete. The whole reason USA was there was to grab viewers that they weren't getting in when they had the fight contract. And then when they were doing fight, but then showing NWA later, it was still like first run content for somebody who didn't see the fight. It gave them something. They don't need that anymore. In fact, it's more distracting. I remember watching USA. I liked the first episode a lot. I kind of liked the second episode. Hated the third episode. Gave it to the fourth before I gave it up. Yeah. And from everybody's reports, actually from your reports and the other Alliance guys' reports, I got out quickly and was the smartest one out of the group.
I think there was merit to it because it did give opportunity for other things to happen that necessarily didn't have to be on Power. I think the problem, though, is that trying to come up with so much original content with so few shooting days. I mean, let's be honest. Again, a company like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and its sister promotions like Memphis Wrestling and Derby City Wrestling, they're filming one day a month, and that provides them 4 weeks of content, and then they're back shooting again. And if they don't have another TV taping scheduled, they don't have new content for the following week. And the NWA, you could say smart or stupid, depending which side of the spectrum you are. I mean, obviously, I think it saves money by having all that talent on a Monday and Tuesday that they don't typically would work an indie show. So it's good for the talent. And when those shows air over the next 6 to 8 weeks, talent is being cycled on television, even though that they're maybe have commitments elsewhere. But at the same time, like we saw with Matt Cardona, an injury happens, and then the whole show gets kind of wonky, and you're billing matches that definitely aren't going to happen. Or when somebody gets signed to a different wrestling promotion, Taya Valkyrie still had matches when she was winning the Impact. The Impact Tag Team title. She won the tag team titles while she was still appearing on NWA programming. So it's just a little wonky, if you will.
Yeah, that's again. I'm DK. I'll let you go in a second, but that's exactly why this schedule is bad. The only reason this schedule works is if you're not making any money, or you're not willing to spend any money. Otherwise, it's bad all around for both creatively and for value of television. Yes, movies and stuff shoot well in advance, but they have production values and script writers and things that are actually designed to know what's going on. I don't believe Billy Corgan knows what the hell is going on during a particular taping. DK, what do you think?
Well, it's hard to disagree with you on that, but I mean, to get the core of it, Yeah, I don't know that USA is necessary. They keep hinting that they're supposed to have some big announcement, or outright stating they're supposed to have some big announcement. But it's also kind of stated not all the T's are crossed and I's dotted. So if that's the case, then there's no promise of anything. And but right, USA was developed to sell power, and I don't know how it worked there, but that's what its original promise.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but power was still behind the pay window when USA came
right.
came to YouTube. So I felt like it was the idea, at least, was to put it on YouTube, to put a show on YouTube that was free. They try to drive that membership subscriptions to fight.
If you believe the rumors, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but it sounds plausible. If you believe the rumors, when they originally signed with Fight, they were exclusive. That's why all the content came down off YouTube.
I don't buy that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying what it was.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's what I think they were. That's the narrative they were pushing, but I don't think that was them.
And so then again, depending on who you listen to, who you believe, and I'm talking about websites out there that are legitimate, or mostly legitimate, And then they said that, well, either it was renegotiated or something. And then that's when it was like, we can put USA content out there. And then was it just Power was behind the paywall, or did they already move Power to coming out a couple days later?
No, yeah. Well, so Power always was.
It was always a paywall for first run.
Yeah, and then they would. So for Tuesdays, Power was behind the pay window, and then USA was free on Saturdays. They also had Power would be available on Fridays after it aired on the Fight First.
Yeah, but that wasn't originally that way. I believe DK is right. It was behind the pay window at first. The adding of Power came later, if I remember.
Well, yeah, USA was always free. USA was never behind the pay window.
But I think there was a period of time when you could not get you could get USA, but you still could not get Power.
Gotcha. Yes.
And I think at that time, USA's purpose was to sell the Power show.
Yes.
So here's a small sample of what you, because remember, it ran about 20 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. And so it was like, here's a small sample of what you can get if you get Power. And then they kind of, a little while after that, then they added Power on replay. And then, of course, they finally took it out from behind the paywall and everything. I think the biggest mistake they made is when they went to the subscription. I don't think it sold the way they thought it was going to. And, for the pay-per-views and everything. And, so that's when they kind of came out. I still don't. So, yeah, I don't know that USA's needed right now. I don't think they have a taping schedule to justify USA.
Do you think that part of the reason why we don't have USA is because of this rumor that they keep talking about? Jamming Music Man kind of alluded to it. Is there supposed to be a new NWA show? They talked about going. Billy has kind of said that there's a big announcement that's coming. Billy has mentioned that.
That's what I said at the beginning. They've been hinting and then almost outright stating that there's a big announcement coming. And the line I saw somewhere on Twitter was they're waiting for all the T's to be crossed and I's to be dotted. And my comment to that is, until all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, then we don't know if anything's really coming or not. And so, we'll see. It sounded the hints are that they may show up on a major streaming service. So the question is, what's major?
Well, let's talk about that. Jaden has a background in film and television. I do respect both of your guys' opinion. That's why you're on the show. But what do you consider a major streaming network? I think the only one that has a brand name is Netflix and chill, right? I mean, that's kind of like you don't really hear about Disney Plus and Fuss and
well, I mean,
Amazon Prime and Lime and
you like Star Wars and Disney, then you have Disney Plus. And
Marvel too.
Marvel. So, you like DC and HBO stuff, then you have Max. And Warner Brothers Discovery stuff, then you have Max. And if which is a merger between two different former streaming services.
Yeah.
Just like Paramount.
Yeah.
And it's soon to be Disney, I think.
Yeah. So then
that's another discussion.
If you like a place that sells that loses quite a bit of money right now, you like Netflix. And so
it's also prime time. Don't forget about prime time. And there's Apple TV, which has never been successful.
Yeah, and so that's where you get it's like
there's Paramount.
Right. Well, Paramount's rolled into Max. Or rolling into Max.
Is it?
Yeah, so,
Paramount? No.
Yeah, not Paramount, I'm sorry.
Discovery.
No, Discovery. Yeah, Paramount, but
Paramount.
My understanding is that Paramount's not the thing that successful. So, we know it's not Peacock because we know that relationship's exclusive.
It's definitely fourth in the hierarchy, but it is probably more successful than people realize.
So wait, so what are we saying is number one?
Right now, based on pure viewership,
yeah,
it's still Netflix. In fact, everybody was worried about the Netflix sharing. They've been more profitable recently than they've been in a long time since they got rid of those password sharing issues. So they're actually, for the first time in a while, maybe possibly making money again.
And they're not paying background actors, so of course.
Yeah. And then Disney, probably based on the properties, I would give them number two.
But they're losing money like crazy, apparently.
Yes, but it's more
Disney
because
as a whole is losing money.
Yeah. Not necessarily the channel, it's Disney itself is losing money. That's why they're cutting back on a lot of things.
So in my household, right, we've had Netflix for years. We have Disney Plus, we have Hulu, we have the package of Disney, Hulu, and ESPN. We also have Prime because my wife likes to shop, and we have Peacock because I like The Office, and my wife has Paramount because she likes all the weird shows that are on Paramount, the tattoo shows. And so we have basically everything at this point. The only thing we don't have is Apple. And I kind of want Apple because I hear a lot of good things about it.
Apple's the bastard child of streaming right now. They've never been a big player.
But they have that show, Ted something. Ted
Bundy?
Apple TV. Ted Lasso is a big hit with them. I think it's won awards and stuff. It's one of the higher sought after. But as we're sitting here talking about it,
unfortunately, awards don't mean profitable. That's one of the.
No, that's true.
They had the first two seasons of Cobra Kai, which was also getting lots of awards and praise, and they couldn't even keep it.
No, that wasn't Apple. That was actually believe it or not, that was a YouTube series.
Oh yeah, that's right, YouTube.
YouTube, because there was a streaming service for YouTube for a brief time, and also people forgot about Yahoo for a brief time had a streaming service.
People forgot about Yahoo.
Yeah,
people have forgot about Yahoo altogether.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what we're saying is Google's where it's at. 2 turntables and a microphone.
2 turntables and a microphone.
Yeah, well, but this is the whole deal, and this is when I talk about. I took some heat one time when I said, streaming isn't TV, and
It's not.
and streaming doesn't make money, and unfortunately, a lot of things that don't make money go to streaming. And I think a good example of that was like Sunday Ticket. When Sunday Ticket first came out, on DirecTV, which is what I had at the time, you had to pay extra for Sunday Ticket. And then after a couple of years of that, they started giving it to you if you got something else. And then they just started giving it to you. And then it went to streaming. And so when it goes from TV, cable, whatever, and then moves off to streaming, it means it's not making them money. And that's why they move it. They're hoping to get more eyes on it, but the truth is streaming doesn't make them money. And so, everybody, like I said, everybody keeps talking, oh, streaming's the new way. Streaming's the way it goes. And I understand. I spend a lot of time now surfing, YouTube and stuff like that. But ultimately, if I want to watch a show, I'm more likely to watch it if it's on TV.
I don't watch any TV.
Yeah.
Everything I watch is streaming now. And I'm going to say something very unpopular. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me and probably get all up in arms, but they're wrong. And because they don't know better. Streaming's like wrestling promotions. People's like, oh, it's great. We got NWA, and we got Impact, and we got MLW, and we got Ring of Honor, kind of, and we got WWE, and we got SmackDown and Raw and NXT, and we got 17 shows of AEW, and there's all this stuff. Wrestling doesn't need a lot of promotions, big promotions. Wrestling needs 2, maybe 3 really good promotions. The problem is it don't even really have one. So what wrestling needs is 3. Wrestling was always at its most valuable when there was 3 good promotions. WWF ruined that. But if it would be a lot better if there was no NWA and MLW and Impact and stuff like that. And if we could even got the old Ring of Honor, if all of that just would have disappeared and conglomerated into one real promotion, then you could have had something worth fighting for. But there's not DQ views. These are mine. Got to change that wording on that one there. And you don't agree with it, but there isn't enough right now. There isn't enough talent out there, and you can talk about all these indie darlings all you want. Most of them don't belong on TV. There's a lot of people on TV that don't belong on TV. But there is not enough good talent and good producers and good wrestling out there right now to have this many promotions trying to fight for scraps. For WWE scraps and whatever AEW doesn't sign up.
So okay. And I'm hearing you, and I don't know if I agree or disagree. I haven't had enough time to digest the material, but when you look at somebody like, for example, Thrillbilly Silas Mason, if there was no NWA, would he be working in the industry?
He'd still be working somewhere, I'm sure.
But you're saying, you just said that there's only like 3 credible promotions, right?
I meant big time promotions out there. There's barely one credible promotion right now.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is,
because I look at a guy, I look at a guy like Silas Mason, and I say, you know what, this guy has a future in the business, and I don't think it's just the NWA. I think eventually he is going to put himself in a position where he's going to age himself, or not age, that's not the right phrase. He's going to have the credibility to make that next step. Like the NWA essentially is going to be a stepping stool, whether it be Impact or AEW or even WWE. He's going to take that next step at some point.
You're kind of making my point for me, because there's not enough out there right now. The NWA can't hold on to any of these people.
Well, and I think this is my view, which may run alongside Jaden's. Not saying there shouldn't be other wrestling promotions.
Okay? Yeah, there should be wrestling promotions. There just doesn't need to be a bunch of pretenders pretending they're big-time wrestling promotions.
Yes. In other words, like promotions like Dog or, New Texas Pro in Houston or, whatever. Something that kind of runs their area, does their thing, gives their people the experience of working in front of live crowds and stuff like that. Those are always necessary. The problem are these
promotions with delusions of grandeur.
Yes, the ones that come out and they're kind of like, we could be one of the top. I mean, Billy flat out says that, his goal is to be one of the top promotions.
Tell him to open up his pocketbook and buy everything else.
Right. But, just open up his top pocketbook and spend it in the NWA. I feel like he doesn't want to take on an investor because he doesn't want to lose control.
Yes.
But it's basically what he says. However he phrases it, what he's saying is, I don't want to take on an investor because I want to control everything.
Yeah, because an investor, if somebody's trying to put his money in it, wouldn't have him run it.
Nor should they, if they were smart. And they would bring in somebody that had, real experience. Of course, most investors are stupid, so they probably would let Billy run it.
Or they'd bring in, bro, what's his name?
Vince Russo?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And, because they're idiots because they don't know anything about wrestling either. And so, what you'd want. So, he doesn't really want to spend his own money. And I don't know that I blame him. But if you don't, that's fine. And if you want to run it however you want to run it, that's fine. But then say that. Just out like that. Go, you know what? I'm not going to go broke on this. I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
It's a vanity project. It's a toy for him.
Right.
He's Tony Khan on Wish.
Yeah. I'm living the dream of being able to book my own promotion. Okay. I mean, whether I like it or not, I can at least respect when somebody comes out and says that. But Jaden said they're like these delusions and, where they say things like, oh, we got this 20-year plan to be, in the top. I know you don't have a 20-year plan. Nobody has a 20-year plan. You might have a 20-year goal. You might have a 20-year vision, but you sure as hell don't have a 20-year plan.
I'm trying to get a 20-year-old girlfriend.
Real quick, I'm
single now. I can have a 20-year-old girlfriend.
You both can, okay? But just make sure she's not the same person. Real quick, I'm also on Instagram Live right now, and a friend of the show, Anthony Idol, happened to watch right now, and he has the comment that he says the NWA needs something akin to the TNA Impact Zone for tapings. It could be done in 2 locations aside from local or spot shows, Vegas and Center Stage, for example. I think that would help with the attendance over the long term. But I mean, one of the things that we saw when they did have a regular taping venue, like right now, they have the Skyline Studios in Nashville. That's like their home right now. Before that, their home was the Georgia Public Broadcasting Studios. That was kind of like their home. And then they
kind of moved to Chicago too.
Well, and that's kind of like where their spot shows. And so, they're doing St. Louis for their pay-per-views at the Chase, which we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But then you also look at the numbers. They're going back to Nashville for the TV tapings, and that's probably for the best because we saw how the attendance dwindled after the pay-per-views at the first time they went to the Chase at the 73rd. So,
I think I would say 2 things. I would say they need 2 things when it comes to their TV tapings. And it can be summed up in one word. They need consistency.
Sure.
They need to consistently tape somewhere so that it looks professional. Instead of looking like, well, we just set this up because, we were here this weekend. Which, be honest, their Chicago tapings look like their St. Louis tapings look like and everything. So one thing they need is a consistent place to tape. And basically it should be set up, stay set up, run a school out of it, something. And that should be where they always tape their shows. And then the second thing they need is a consistent taping schedule.
Yes.
So that they always know and they can adapt. I would never tape more than 4 shows in a row. We've even said in the past places that tape 4 shows in a row, had some of the problems we were talking about. Dave Marquez with NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and then just Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and all that. He taped, 4 shows normally, didn't he? I mean, that's kind of where,
you do 3 to 4 shows per afternoon of TV taping.
Right. And, there are times that there would be a person who was on those 4 and, kind of like you said, for whatever reason, things didn't work out and they wouldn't make the next taping, and then they're gone for 4 episodes. And then, maybe they came back, maybe they didn't. They kind of had feuds that would end in the middle. And this isn't a shot day. Please don't misunderstand. What I'm saying is that anytime you take really more than 2 shows in a row, you run risk.
Yeah.
And the more you tape it, I mean, look what they did when Nick Aldis won the #1 contendership, and then they stripped him of it. And it seemed to be like part of the storyline going into it, but then they had nothing in the can and didn't bring in and record anything to redo that. And so, Nick, and who did not win the Impact Championship, and probably won't now for a little while at least.
Rumors are he's going somewhere.
Oh, well.
That was definitely, from what I'm told, there was never him winning. It was never on the odds. It was just a short time stopgap.
It was used to put over Alex Shelley. I think initially it was going to be used to put over Steve Macklin, but I think Steve Macklin got hurt, and so they went with Alex Shelley, right? I mean,
It wasn't Steve Macklin. It was
Josh Alexander.
Josh Alexander, yeah.
Well, no, Josh Alexander got hurt. Steve Macklin won it. Then Steve Macklin got hurt. Yeah, and I don't know if he got hurt before or after he lost the title, but Macklin got injured, and so they had to go with.
Well, I would assume it was either before or during, and that's why they went with the title change.
Yeah.
Yes, because they certainly seem to be setting up Macklin versus Aldis, and then I was surprised when he lost the title.
I saw the other day, Mickey was on Twitter and she put, "Who's the Stooge?" And I don't know what that was in reference to, but then that popped up around the same time that there was talk that Aldis was heading to the WWE. Of course, we talked a little bit about this on Tuesday. The rumor, the speculation is that he's heading in a non-in-ring role, a backstage producer. So, he's a very talented guy. The WWE has a lot of success with using former NWA World Champions as producers and agents. I mean, right now, Adam Pearce is working behind the scenes and in front of the camera. Abyss is working behind the scenes, and Aldis would be another addition.
Carino.
Oh yeah, Carino. I think Carino's mostly in NXT and the Performance Center, but yeah, absolutely.
That's where the other 2 started, if I'm not mistaken.
I know Pierce started at the Performance Center, but I don't know about Abyss. I don't know for sure. Let's get to some comments in the chat, because
I think they start everybody in the Performance Center. I think that's pretty standard.
Yeah, I think that is standard, where they start you there. Whether you stay there long is a different story, but I think they start you there just to get your feet wet, so you know the lay of the land. Right,
and in the early days, they started you there so you could work with Dusty, which is what they wanted.
Well, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to work with Dusty? Okay, Sam Retro says the best era of the USA was the junior heavyweight tournament. I don't think there's any argument there. That was exciting. It gave the show a purpose. And they even mentioned during that time that would be the home of the national championship, which never really kind of came to fruition. That kind of went out the window almost immediately when Chris Adonis lost the belt to Crimson Mayweather. That belt wasn't really defended on USA either. And then
it's barely defended when Aldis had it. I mean, Adonis had it.
Yeah.
You were saying, DK?
I said, do you think they'll ignore the title for 75?
Ignore the titles?
The national title.
No, they. In fact, we have news about that. We'll get to in just a few minutes. But there will be a
Did
decision.
I miss something on the show?
Huh?
Did I miss something on the show?
No, this was not announced so far on television. This was announced on the internet. Jammin' Music Man said, Luthez says, I just wish the NWA could find a model, whatever that is, that lasts more than a few tapings. I think we all can agree to that as well. I mean, look.
Consistency. It's the new controversy.
Look, in any walks of life, consistency is key. You want to have a happy relationship? Be consistent. You want to be a good father? Be consistent. You want to have a good business? Be consistent. You want to be a good employee? Be consistent. Like, that's literally the key to success for everything in life.
You forgot that I'd be consistently good.
Right. And that's
I
true.
mean, the NWA is generally consistently bad.
You remember all those motivational posters that were so popular?
Just hang in there.
Yeah, they did a series of what they call demotivation posters. God, they were great because they were honest. Like there was one that, like quitters never win and winners never quit. But if you never win and you never quit, you're a moron. And, things like that. It was.
Real quick, our pal Anthony Idol says that Idol versus Tyrus is the answer. So, I think he's ogling for a shot at that belt. And not to get too sidetracked, because he is my pal, I am going to put him over for a second. I don't know why the NWA hasn't looked at a guy like Idol. He checks all the boxes. Charisma, got it. 6 foot plus. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", maybe taller. He's jacked. He's a big wrestling dude. Like, he's got muscles. He's a guy that I would say that the NWA would be perfect for. Maybe
they think they already have him and they just got Austin instead.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's kind of like when they WWE hired the wrong one-legged wrestler.
Who's the other one besides Zach Gowen?
I don't remember his name, but there was another one.
I don't remember that story. I wasn't really watching wrestling at that time, but I do remember a story that they hired the wrong one. That everybody was like, one was a indie darling, and they went out and hired like just another indie guy that happened to have one.
The Angels.
Yeah, he didn't have a leg to stand on.
Ha!
I was going to make a baseball joke, but no.
Go ahead. Go ahead and make a baseball joke.
So the Angels went out and signed Gary Matthews Jr. from the Texas Rangers, and he was awful. And then, like a season later, they signed Torrey Hunter, and I think maybe they were just confused on center fielders because Torrey Hunter was such a great center fielder, and Gary Matthews Jr. was just known for one catch. It wasn't a funny joke.
You struck out with that one.
Yeah, they can't all be homers. Jammin' Music Man says, here's a question. Do you guys think the NWA should have a weekly 2-hour show?
They can't even do 1 hour right.
Yeah, my answer to that is just what Jaden said. Like, no, they don't have 1 hour figured out right. If they could come up with a show, again, consistently good, if it's good every week, I could see that, but they're not there. And especially when they're taping months of television in the span of 2 days, they can't really afford that until they can commit to, again, like what Luthez said, a consistent model, and as we would say, a consistently good model. Maybe that's something that they could discuss down the road, but right now, like, I couldn't handle 2 hours of power. Like, what are we going to get? More commercials from Austin Idol again? I mean,
well, Ricky Morton would be wrestling every week.
Oh, Jesus! I don't wish that evil on anybody, Ricky Bobby.
But I mean, look, here's the thing, and this is what we talked about earlier. When we mocked the 20-year plan, or at least I mock it, and Jaden mocks it. Jay, I think, bought into it in the early days. But
I still buy into it. I think he has a vision. Has he executed? No, but
it's not 2020. That's for sure.
Well, but I mean, that's my point.
Mr. McGoo has better vision than he does.
It's one thing to say you have a vision. I mean, I've always said I'm a person where words mean something, and they don't just don't interchange. A 20-year vision is one thing, And if you came out and said, I have a 20-year vision, I'd go, well, that's great. But when you go, I have a 20-year plan, that means something. That means you have plans, have steps, intermediate goals. You have things that you're supposed, and so you're supposed to be here, there, whatever, and all this thing. And the claim after 5 years, oh, well, we're where we thought we would be. Really? Because I thought you were behind because of COVID. But, they were like, oh, and they're 5 years into their plan, which they are, by the way. I'm almost 6, isn't it now?
Yeah.
And so, we're down to 14 years, that 20-year plan. But when the show is so inconsistent between TV tapings, I mean, and I'm not talking about just wrestlers or quality of matches, but just what they do. Yeah. I mean, in one TV taping, we've noted that they've had some of their best shows and some of their worst shows in one set of tapings. And it's just like, I don't understand. They are so, I think of when they talk about Vince McMahon running around the last minute tearing up scripts and ideas for Raw and SmackDown and making all these changes. The only difference, I feel like they never have the plan. They never have the original format and layout and everything like that. They just, it's like they come to the tapings and Billy's like, well, this is what I want to do. And, this is what I want to see. And here's what we're going to do. And, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. But that's the way it comes across. I mean, you can say, no, he has thoughts and he has plans and everything like that. It doesn't come across that way. I mean, Jaden, you've been watching the show the past couple weeks.
Yeah, made it 2 weeks so far. It's a record for me in a while.
Yeah, and so, I mean, does it really come across like they have a plan? I mean, when we get into the show, we'll talk about one of the Southern Six guys wrestling, and what did it mean? And so we'll get into that when we get into the show. I mean, but is there anything that you watched in the last 2 weeks that you can say, this is what the NWA is? Here's their niche. This is their style. This is what they do.
They do bad TV. That's their style. But here's the thing. You don't even need a long plan. There are many good bookers who book on the fly, who adapt continuously and change things and everything, but still do it well. There's a story out there back when Dutch Mantel could still tell great stories.
Not no more.
When him and Eddie Gilbert were trying to plan out the thing, and Eddie Gilbert's like, okay, what are we going to do? And he has all this stuff written down and books and ideas and everything else and storylines planned out for the next 6 months. And Dutch Mantel's on the beach drinking. He's like, we're not there yet. And then Eddie's like an hour later, all right, man, what are we going to do? And Dutch Mantel is in the bar drinking. He's like, no, we're not ready yet. And then they get to the building a couple hours before, and Eddie Gilbert goes, what are we going to do? I have all these ideas. I have this and this. And then Dutch is like, we're not ready yet. About 30 minutes before the show, Dutch decides what he's going to do, and everything worked out really well. It was like planned out like he planned it all along. Just made up. There's people that can do that. Billy can't do either.
Yeah, but I think that came from years of experience in dealing with working with others. That's something that's missing. That's something that's missing today. Billy's booking, but what great bookers has Billy worked with to get these things?
Dave Marquez.
Did he work with them?
Was Dave
Did he work with them, or did Marquez work for him?
Yeah, that's probably it. Hey,
and was he a booker? I always was under the impression that Marquez had bookers.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, when Marquez was with Billy, for Marquez, for his wrestling promotions, yeah, he's always had a booker per se. It wasn't necessarily him doing the booking. He has booked in the past, and you could see the time when Adam Pearce left, and then Joey Ryan was briefly booking. I think shortly after that, Angelo Trinidad and Dave Marquez were booking, and then Johnny Yuma became the booker for there. Then Peter Avalon was booking, and and then I think the last booker they had, they have a new booker now, but their last one was Aaron Stevens, who was there for a short time, and then Anyways, let's get back to some more of the comments, if that's okay with you guys.
Sure.
With that,
Give me more to yell at.
our pal Anthony Idol says, I need a show like Joe Pedicino's This Week in Wrestling, a 1-hour clip show of NWA happenings, including defenses in different territories. I mean, that they got the guy to do that right now. I mean, I'm saying Gary Horn could do that. That's what I would do. Instead of doing that, their live stream that they do right now on Mondays, give Gary an hour and have him run clips from all the indie shows that their talent's defending titles on.
Pro Wrestling this week.
Yeah. The NWA
But then you had a bunch of independent territories back then that not even independent, some non-independent territories that could have television, knew what to do, and could send stuff.
Yeah, but break it. Then don't do it for an hour. And when you don't have content of title matches to show, put interviews or clips from previous matches from the past. There's ways to make something like that work, and they've got the guy right there.
Well, you know, the problem is then they'd have to recognize that things happen in other parts of the wrestling world, which they only want to recognize things that happen in promotions they consider their equals or bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not going to tell you that all the NWA licensed promotions were great back in the day, either back in the Marquez Trobich era or back in the Tharp era or anything like that. I'm not going to tell you that they were all great. Some of them weren't. Some of them were just normal independents. Mm-hmm. Some were okay. But, you know, I had a conversation with one of the top Lightning One guys at the time, and he trashed every single NWA licensed promotion of the past 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, trashed them. They were horrible. They didn't know what they were doing. I can't believe we would never work with any of them. You know, even though at one time they told two of them they were willing to work with them. He's telling me, we would never work with any of them. They're just horrible and sad and pathetic. And so they do a title change on hardcore crap promotion.
CZW, yeah.
Yeah.
There was an area,
and I didn't want to give them the name. Yeah.
There was a crowd that did not want to see anything to do with the NWA and wanted nothing at all to do with Nick Aldis, nothing at all to do with Austin Idol. And especially despite all the good buildup, they hated Tim Storm even more so.
Right.
They wanted nothing. Those fans wanted nothing to do with that. But because CZW had some name out there, they decided to try to steal their rub.
You know what? I think I kind of disagree with you guys a bit on that. And I do have a little bit of backstory. They were looking for a venue that had a big event. Dave Marquez was for a brief time, ownership of Combat Zone Wrestling. I think that's why they chose it, is because they knew that there would be a crowd there, a lot of bodies, and that's what they wanted. It was a NWA World Title match. You do that match in Hollywood, you would have had a decent sized crowd, but I think there was a bigger crowd in Combat Zone Wrestling. I think what they didn't realize didn't consider is that the crowd was going to shit all over it no matter what.
They're fucking idiots.
Yeah. Fucking Stevie Wonder could have seen that, and we're both cursing. That tells you how stupid that is.
Offense to Dave Marquez in that case. You're a fucking idiot if you thought the crowd was going to react any differently they did in Combat Zone Wrestling. That was their whole thing. They are against anything that would be traditional style wrestling or WWE style wrestling or sports entertainment. They're a shit show. And to put on a 5-minute title match, if it even went that long, I bet we had a lot of people supporting us back when that thing came on. A lot of people shit that.
Oh no, look, I'm not disagreeing with you, but like you're jumping on front of the show, Dave Marquez. I can't do that. I love Dave. Dave's my guy.
Hey, look, I give Dave credit when Dave deserves credit. I mean, just like always. If I say good things about Dave, I mean them. And the reason you know I mean him is because I'll say bad things about Dave too.
And I'm mostly just being silly. Hey,
yeah, I know.
Let's get to some more comments because
no, I'm not done ranting yet.
Well, you got to hurry up because you got like 10 more minutes, then we got to move on.
So anyway, my thing was they put on a 4 to 5 minute horrible show with an injury, totally unpromoted, because it was you said anytime. It was almost like a Money in the Bank cash in, except for they did it later in the, a little bit later. We didn't just start there. And it was a bad idea. They put up film from a camera phone and everything. And it was trashed so bad. And then they're like, all of a sudden they took the camera phone footage. Well, then all of a sudden they said, well, we couldn't get the actual footage. There was something wrong with the actual footage from, Combat Zone. So we're not able to show that. And then they took down the telephone footage and almost like rewrote history. They didn't talk anything about it. They didn't talk about how Tim Storm was injured. They didn't talk about how long the match was or anything like that. It was, and they did set up to do another angle for that title on a Combat Zone show. And, after that reception, everybody got a brain and said, no, let's not. And so now I'm done with my rant.
Now I'm done, he says. All right. So more of the comments. I want to get to the comments in the chat, and we're going to talk about some of what's happening for the 75th. We'll review Power and call it a night. Real quick, Dave Scooby says, Freddie Prinze Jr. has a new wrestling streaming service. Yeah, and he's really going out there. He's being very active about acquiring different wrestling promotions. I don't know that that's a good fit for the NWA because, again, they're trying to stand out. Like what DK, Jaden both said earlier, right or wrong, Billy thinks he's a bigger deal than what than being on a wrestling streaming service. He wants big exposure for his brand, and he feels like because he's the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins that affords him that recognition. So I don't think he'll be on Freddie Prinze's streaming service, and that's not to discredit any wrestling promotion that's going on that streaming service. I just don't see the NWA going there.
I mean, I think Poyo put it best, I think, in the comment section one time. She goes, Billy has the opportunity to talk to all the bigwigs. Yeah. Like someone will want to talk to him just because he's Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily translate into they actually want to give him a show.
Right. And to be perfectly honest, and this is going to sound maybe a little bit cruel because I do stand with the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA, and I do think that it's that the working actors and writers of America deserve a lot better than what they're getting. But I do believe that because Hollywood production has come to a halt, that there's going to be greater opportunity for non-union programming, specifically pro wrestling. If you have a channel and you need content, fresh content, I'm not saying that the NWA is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying the NWA could certainly fill an hour weekly, under the right set of circumstances.
Well, I would hope part of any deal would be somebody else actually produces the show. I'm not talking about the wrestling, but I'm talking about the show. I mean, I criticized Dave Marquez. Let me give Dave Marquez his props. When Dave was there and released Joseph Hutton and everybody, you couldn't argue with the production value. The production value of the NWA at that time was great. And my alarm's going off. And you couldn't argue with the production value and stuff like that. It was good. The show looked better than the actual show was. And so, I'll certainly give props to that. And I would hope that if they did do whether it's with a major streaming company or minor streaming company or minor TV, cable, something company, that it would, whoever does it would take over production of it and, produce a decent. I think if you get something like that, then you can get that consistent. Here's our place that we're going to film. Here's our filming schedule, and everything like that. Would NWA on Tubi or Pluto be better than YouTube? I don't have Pluto, and I only have Tubi because it comes with my Amazon Prime.
So Tubi and Pluto are both free platforms, and I think they make their money on the advertising that they sell on the back end. Would it be a better deal than YouTube? I'm going to say probably not. I don't. We keep talking about Dave Marquez like he's going to be on the podcast or something, but Dave Marquez is somebody who has been producing pro wrestling for like 30 plus years. Dave Scooby actually worked with Dave Marquez back in the old World Legion Wrestling days. And I've talked to him about, hey, you have so much content that you've produced. I mean, just Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has been on the air for a very, very long. Are you stepping out?
Yeah, I have to step out for 1 minute.
Championship Wrestling. I took you off the screen. Sorry, DK. Did you?
No, I was saying get Jaden back.
Yeah, he disappeared too. I'll see you in a minute. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has been on TV for a decade. They have so much just raw footage of pro wrestling. If they went to a Pluto or a Tubi, they certainly could fill out an hour a week of program. And in fact, I've encouraged Dave to do that. But what it would require is if you're going to just show the old footage, it's not a high demand for it. You could chop up the footage and make it reusable today, but again, a lot of that footage is considered valuable to Dave. He has a vault again that's 30 plus years with matches from guys like Scorpio Sky, TJ Perkins, Ryan Taylor, Adam Pearce, Christian Cage. There's a long list of guys that he's worked with in the past, Samoa Joe, and any of these guys could be beneficial down the road to keep that footage private for now. So, but yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Jaden, you know a lot about TV and film and all that good stuff. Do you think that a program on Pluto or Tubi would be better than having the YouTube service?
No. I know you want more explanation.
The other part to that too is, and I'm sure you would agree with this, everyone on their phone has YouTube. If you have a smart TV, YouTube is usually on it. Your computer can access YouTube, your tablet, your notebook, whatever. Tubi requires an app, no? Pluto, I know you could watch Pluto on your computer. You could download it on your phone, but it's not like a pre-installed thing. It's something you have to go pursue. Again, I just don't know. We're monetized here on YouTube, but I guarantee you our numbers are nowhere near the numbers that the NWA is earning currently. And, if it makes sense for them, I don't know that you would change it. I don't know that Pluto or Tubi could offer them more.
Yeah, maybe if you only took advantage of some of those YouTube numbers and stuff, and when you went to the tapings and the pay-per-view, you brought signs that mention the Alliance guys and alliance-wrestling.com and get some cheap plugs.
We're
maybe a big long banner since there's a bunch of you standing together now.
There's going to be we're going to be front row representing the Alliance on night 1, and night 2 I wasn't able to get a front row, but we're going to be second row. So there'll be a nice looking bunch of handsome men and women wearing the Alliance gear, and hopefully,
yeah, you guys are going to be there too.
You son of a bitch! All right, let's go. More comments.
Raluca was there, right? There's at least one.
Who'd you say?
Raluca.
Yeah. Yes. One day, a few days ago, we were doing the live stream for the pre-party, and Raluca was in the chat. And Fiona was in the chat. Mandy was in the chat. Polka Dot Pam was in the chat. And I'm like, wow, YouTube's not going to know what to think. There's 4 women in the show right now. What's going on? A new...
Probably would have thought they were bots. And GCW is not great.
A new viewer is The Real Tight Spot. Thanks for checking us out today. He's watching us on twitch.tv. at the
But-
Alliance blog. He's a GCW fan. He says it's great, and Impact has some great shows too. You know, I've heard Impact is great. I've heard that it's so much better right now than it was just even a few years ago. The problem is, it's number one, you can't really find it on regular cable. It's becoming increasingly difficult to find. Like, not everyone has. What's it? Is it Anthem? Is that the channel?
I think Anthem is the one that owns it, isn't it? Isn't it? It used to be HDNet.
Yeah, it used to be HDNet, but it has a different name now, and I don't know what it is. But they're not an easy channel to find. And then, like, so you can watch it on YouTube, but I think you have to pay for the subscription. So it gets, you know, there's a pay window behind it, which is completely understandable. But like, if you're not into the product already, like, you know, it's a hard sell.
What are you on about?
Nobody can see Impact.
He also asked where Zicky Dice is going. Now, we know Zicky Dice was an Impact. He, along with Nick Aldis, left the company just recently. Zicky Dice, he has been competing in United Wrestling Network, both in Memphis and Championship Wrestling, presented by CarShield. I don't know where if he's officially going, but I imagine he's probably just going to be working more indie dates and working those dates with, you know, the United Wrestling Network. Chris says the NWA can be on Pluto on the Wrestling Channel. And again, I just don't think that's something Billy's interested in doing. I feel like, again, in Billy's mind, and this is just an assumption because I don't really know. I don't talk to Billy, but I believe that Billy feels that he's bigger than that.
If while you have Pluto TV there is a Godzilla channel you could watch.
Ooh, Godzilla.
Yeah. Most of the older Godzilla movies and some of the, I think the Godzilla cartoon. I even think the Funkadactyl. He wasn't even a Funkadactyl. He was the Funkasaurus. And then speaking of Godzilla, there's a kaiju I wish would fall into a volcano. But you could also get like the cartoon based off of the 98 Godzilla, which was way better than the movie.
There's a comic book coming out, and I don't remember who the responsible party was, but I think it's like the Avengers versus Godzilla versus King Kong, or maybe it might be the Justice League. I don't remember exactly, but you might be having to go pick up some comic books again.
Oh, by the way, Impact was on Access. I think I heard you guys ask.
Access, yeah.
It.
We couldn't get to Access. I said Anthem. Jane said HDNet. I knew that wasn't right.
Well, it's one of those weird things. The actual name of the company, you know, it's like going back and things, you know, Jim Crockett Promotion stuff. The actual name of the company is Anthem Wrestling Exhibitions, LLC. And they go by a trade name of Impact Wrestling. And they were formerly Total Nonstop Action / TNA Wrestling, which started as NWA Total Nonstop Action / TNA Wrestling, where they once had dancing girls in cages.
I used to call it Total Nonsense Wrestling.
The chat is blowing up, and I'm not going to be able to get to everything because you guys are just
popping off good ones.
They're doing that too, but there's a lot of comments in here, and we just can't
make some comments. Let's see some comments. If you weren't so slow, we'd have them done already.
Hey man, I missed Tuesday as I lost power for a while, so barely made the NWA show. Though if all this is in the WWE, I would laugh at as the thought had freezing hiring the thing as Colby came back, even Matt Cardona. I think he was referring to all this was rumored to be going to the WWE, but so was Colby Carino, and that didn't happen. Thez calls Aldous Pierce 2.0. That would be an interesting conversation that I wish I was on a fly on the wall to hear. Dow says Tiffany Stratton already is a champion of NXT. She's the best thing going today. Woo! Though I thought they were ruining it, bringing in all the WWE guys, shoving them,
having them
winning titles,
having them win because Dominic just won the North American title.
I thought that's actually real quick. I think that's a brilliant move. I think that the titles in the WWE should not be restricted to brand. I think they should change the NXT world title into like a world television title or something of that sort, because you shouldn't. NXT is supposed to be in a developmental brand. That's fine, but their champions don't have to be developmental champions. And if Dom wins the North American Championship, I mean, there's nothing stopping perhaps
you can make a good argument that Dom should be on a developmental show.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But I'm saying, like, you know, why not have Austin Theory go to NXT and defend the U.S. title, or Walter? What are they calling him now? Not Walter.
No, Walter.
Oh
no.
It was Walter. Now it's
Gunther.
What's stopping Gunther going down there and beating the crap out of somebody? You know, I think that would be more interesting. And you get
Seth Rollins did defend the world title down there.
Yeah, and his whole shtick is like, this is the true like workman's championship. But I'm saying, let anyone go anywhere. What, you know, put Austin Theory on SmackDown, put Austin Theory on Raw. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's all trivial bullshit anyways. Give me the best wrestling. That's all. Okay, getting back to
real quick, unpopular opinion. I like the name Gunther better than Walter. The only thing is Walter was first. If Gunther would have been first, it would have been a better choice.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was already so big and famous and even known in NXT as Walter when they changed it. As Walter when they changed it to Gunther. I think that's what people crazy.
If they just would have gave him Gunther, I do think it's a better name. Walter, I still think of the old puppet in for Jeff Foxworthy, not Jeff Foxworthy.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
James H. Jackson says, we are not negative. We just want better for the NWA. That's true, man.
Exactly, man.
We're not going to take it. We want a better NWA. When do we want it? Now. Let's go on strike.
Yeah. Dow says, personally, I think the TV women title was a mistake. Even the tag one sort of iffy. Yet was quoted on this channel saying about not having a TV title unless on TV, only to have two of them. And that's referring to Billy Corgan. He did that. That was before the Crockett Cup in 2019. He and James Cornette, Billy and James, sat down as a VIP meet and greet. Someone asked about bringing back the TV title, and he said, you can't have a TV title without TV. I think that they loosely define Power as their television, even though it's not on TV.
Well, this is one of the things we lost when we lost Lagana. Because Lagana was so anti lots of titles. And so, he mocked it, and he didn't want a TV title at all. And so it was interesting when that one came in, and then of course after he left. I mean, look, the world women's tag team belts were made up specifically for the Empower pay-per-view, and I don't think they really had any plan with them beyond that.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that was always part of their 20-year plan. Not the sarcasm.
I'm sorry. I yield to you on that one, Jaden.
Yeah, it was always part of their 20-year plan. More comments.
Jamming Music Man asked, did Nick Aldis beat Tim Storm for the NWA title on an episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood? Actually, no. Nick lost to Tim Storm on an episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in the NWA World Title match.
Yes. Nick Aldis beat Tim Storm in Sewell, New Jersey at the Rastella's Kid Complex, and the event that pretty much cost CZW that building. And if it wasn't for a contract, they would have been kicked out before that event even ended.
There's a lot more comments about WOW being bigger than the NWA. Look, I'm not going to say that one is bigger than the other. I think Jeannie Buss, who is part owner with David McClain, and have the the financial backing of essentially the group responsible for the Lakers. I think it could be. I think they put their investment into the company and they're running it as they would. It's seen more on TV than the NWA is, obviously. If you ask internet wrestling fans, which is a small majority of wrestling fans, a small minority of wrestling fans, I think more people are watching WOW every week than they are watching the NWA. If you go look at the NWA YouTube channel right now, their title match, their show that's happened this week with 2 TV title matches has 22,000 views. I bet you if you go look through the Nielsen's with all the different markets that are showing WOW, I bet you they have more than 22,000 people. Whether that you think that's fair to say that or not, doesn't really matter. I think that's the God honest truth.
Well, I mean, it's fair when you talk about exposure, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that WoW is better. I mean, I think WoW is kind of a watered down product. There's a few great stars on that show. There's good talent, but I think you'll see a better women's match on the NWA than you will in WoW.
They're again saying my argument that there's too many promotions out there and not enough good enough talent.
Well,
Imagine if you had all the women wrestlers from Impact and WoW and NWA, everybody that's good and everywhere, and made a one real women's promotion or maybe part of a major promotion. Then you'd have something. Maybe you'd be able to hold on to some of your talent.
Yeah.
But I think, look, when you start arguing what's bigger, WoW or NWA or MLW or, Joe's Crab Shack promotional wrestling or whatever, that's like looking at an anthill and going, well, I think that ant is bigger than that ant. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Unless you're the Pink Panther, then you see dead ant, 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 dead ant.
You should have joined us in that. Hey, Jay, what happened on Power this week?
We'll get to that. Real quick,
Are you sure?
Hopefully. Let's talk a little bit about the NWA 75th. Obviously, the big news of this week is that tickets went on sale on Tuesday. Now, I did a little research. I did a little digging, and there's something kind of interesting. You would think, as much as we criticize the NWA, you would think like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be a good pay-per-view. Maybe it's not going to be attended well. I'm not saying it's the Alliance guys that drove these numbers to the pay-per-view, but I know we got our tickets, and there's going to be
doubled them.
No, the tickets are actually moving pretty fast. So I don't remember the website that's selling the tickets. I'll look it up real quick. But when you go to buy your tickets, obviously it's very similar to Ticketmaster. It is Ticketmaster. Okay, even better. So when you go to the Ticketmaster website, they show you what's available in terms of seating. I did the math. It's a 906 chair venue. So there's going to be 906 people if they sell out. Well, that'll fill the venue. And I broke down how many people are sitting in which.
And that'll be bigger than 73.
Yeah. Well, so right now there's 906 seats available, or that's what it was when the tickets went on sale. Currently, there are only 208 tickets left for night number 1. And for night number 2, there's 216, which begs the question, like, they're going to do at least 700. If those are all sold tickets and not just put aside, but if they sold all those tickets, that means they're going to have 2 nights of at least 700 people at that show, which is going to be a far bigger crowd than there was for 312. And
both nights combined couldn't fill the arena. Go ahead.
Well, this venue it could.
Yeah, I meant the ECW arena or the Alhambra or the 2300 arena.
Sure, and that's a fair observation. But what I'm saying is it's an upward tick, and that the NWA desperately needs an upward tick.
Well,
if they want a fighter's chance, they got to punch up and not down.
Well, the first time they went to St. Louis, they were selling about, that was Aldous Murdoch. Murdoch won the title and was actually a storyline that had been running. They sold 800 and some tickets. And I think that was also the Empower. And so they ended up, I think, selling out both nights, or really close if they didn't.
Yeah.
And it was 800 and some tickets. Now, last year's was it close? It was only like 600, wasn't it? It was less. I mean, they cordoned off the thing. They did not sell as many tickets. And that was one of the things that Nick Aldis had pointed out. That was one of the.
I just hope the dark matches that they filmed this year, we don't get an hour-long pre-show. You know what I mean? Like they did that for Crockett Cup, and I just couldn't wrap my head around that. Why would you have that? Huh?
Hour and a half the first night.
Yeah, the pre-show should be maybe 30 minutes, maybe, right? But you could have taken those matches and filmed stuff that could have been useful for us to watch on Power the following weeks instead of seeing Billy Corgan talk about what he liked about the Crockett Cup. Luther says it's a different setup for 74. You're probably right. This will be a different setup, but look, I think that's promising. The tickets went on sale yesterday at 10 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. on the West Coast, 11 a.m. on the East Coast, and they've sold what it looks like about 1,000 tickets already for 2 nights. I think that's a huge victory for them, and I hope that they continue to sell the tickets. And when you look at the roster, you look at some of the matches that they announced and that they're going to be announcing. It's starting to come together, and let me see if I can pull up the matches that I have here. They did not come up. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
While you're pulling it up, anybody think that maybe with the more exposure of actually being on YouTube helped the ticket sales any?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I don't know how many people are watching it on
That's night 1, by the way. And you can see like the gray dots are the unavailable seats. The blue dots are what's available. Night 2
are in interesting places.
Yeah. Night 2, 216 available. Now this was as of earlier today. That these numbers could be even different now. But I did do the research.
Well, look, I want them to sell out, and I've said about them. It hasn't always held true. But I've said about them that their pay-per-views are better than their TV tapings.
And we agree to that.
Almost always. Now, doesn't mean all their pay-per-views have been good. It just means that they almost always put out a better thing. And so
that's like saying getting punched in the face is better than being punched in the nuts.
Well, I mean, I have enjoyed the pay-per-views.
I thought you were going to say you enjoy getting punched in the nuts.
No, that's you. And she told me that you're asking way too much money for it. But anyway, I'm hoping that I want the pay-per-view to sell out, and I want the pay-per-view to be good. And typically they do that. I just wish that the TV tapings that tended to follow were as good.
We'll have to wait and see about that. But again, the ticket sales, at least to me, I think are promising. And then I have some of the matches here as graphics, so we could talk about that real quick. Of course, the main event that's going to be for night number 2 has been announced. And sorry that the graphic isn't as good as I thought it was. Tyrus versus EC3. Actually, it looks better on the other screen. Maybe it looks fine on everyone else's screen. That's going to be headlining night number 2. Night number 1 will be headlined by Natalia Markova versus Camille. That's also, that's a rematch from the Crockett Cup. Then we know that on night number 1, La Rebellion will defend the tag team titles against Blunt Force Trauma. And then on night number 2, the winner of this match defends against Murnox. And then some other matches that have been announced. We already knew that Kerry Morton was going to be defending the title. I don't know what night that is going to be on, but he's defending the Junior Heavyweight Championship against Colby Carino. And then these are some matches that haven't been announced. Or I guess they did this too. Matt Cardona returns to the NWA and has an open challenge. So those are the matches that have been announced on TV, the appearances and all that good stuff. Now, here's what we haven't seen yet is that Homicide returns to the NWA to take on Joe Alonzo, which I think that's going to be a great matchup. Joe Alonzo and Homicide, I think, can have a great match. This is the one that you guys are not going to like because I don't like it. Billy Silas Mason with Poil Damar will be challenging Kratos and Odinson, otherwise known as the Gods of War, in a triple threat match where winner take all the National Heavyweight Championship.
I don't mind that. I don't mind any of them as national champion.
So the reason why I don't like this matchup, and the only reason why I don't like this matchup is we just saw Silas Mason lose to EC3 for the second time in a month, right? He lost at the Crockett Cup Then he lost at the TV tapings. Both
Means
times.
he's the next national champion.
See, I think that's bad booking.
It is, but that's Billy booking.
I'm not arguing. We're just talking about
Well, see, like if this was the Jason Wrestling Federation, then what we would have done is I would have
you would have hired me to book. I got you. Go ahead.
Maybe, but we definitely what we wouldn't have had was have Thrillbilly in this matchup at all, and perhaps Thrillbilly gets the top opportunity to wrestle for that title at Hard Times, and maybe at Hard Times, Daddy is when he would win that national champion to build up for a world championship run at the next event.
I don't agree. I also think it's stupid that the two tag team wrestlers who have been a team for a while are part of it, and they haven't won any singles matches, which probably means that Billy's breaking them up.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, because I don't think Billy doesn't like tag teams. That's very obvious.
If you had to predict that the winner of that match, who do you see going over?
It'll be the least likely, so it'll be Odinson. Actually, no. Based on Billy's booking, it would be Silas.
DK?
Probably Kratos. I lean towards the idea of it's going to be Thrillbilly because he can put the title on Thrillbilly without him having to be EC3.
Yeah.
Which is what I don't think. I think the problem was I don't think he wanted him to be EC3, and so then it was like, well, how do we put the title on Thrillbilly? Well, EC3 just gives up the title. And so, I think that is something I would believe as a way of thinking of Billy's booking.
Yeah.
Honestly, I will not be surprised in any way, shape, or form, whoever comes out. I say there's a 33 1/3% chance, like the odds would suggest that any of them will come out as champion because I can see Billy logic for any of them. Now, who would I put the title on? I'd probably put the title on Kratos.
I think that would be not a bad bet. I don't know. Again, who do I think they're going to put the belt on? I agree with you guys. They're going to put it on Thrillbilly. Just wish they wouldn't, to be honest.
Here's one reason why I think they might not. Pollo's coming out with them, as it's advertised.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've been teasing dissension. So.
But he could win. Pollo raises his hand and he clotheslines her.
Yeah.
And that could happen. Again, I'm not going to. I could see. Now, this is better booking than Billy does, so I'm not saying I believe this is what's going to happen.
Would you have Chat GPT do it?
I think they might do better. I think you could put the title on Kratos, parentheses, Odinson, by having them pin Thrillbilly, where Thrillbilly blames Pollo again, and they finally break that relationship. As the Southern Six come out or something like that. Because
why not take the group that got themselves over as super baby faces and as charismatic talents and completely take everything away that got them over? Sure, go ahead. That's a Billy Corgan way.
Exactly. So I could.
Sorry.
And we'll talk some about that.
Comment.
We'll talk some about that when we get to
POWERRR.
Because there was something I didn't like that they did there. We'll talk about that. So
There's a lot I didn't like, and I'll talk about it because I got a big mouth.
Yes, you do, and we like you for it. But I kind of see that, and then you get kind of have like a Kratos, a Kratos Southern Six feud, where Thrillbilly's your person to go after Kratos finally to win the title. Again, that's a little more complicated than I think Billy thinks. So it would certainly be better booking than Billy normally comes up with. But you're free to steal it, Billy, if you want it.
Spoiler alert, Rolando gets in there and wins the title.
Oh, God.
You son of a bitch.
Don't give him ideas like that.
I'm sure he already thought of it. That was page 87 of the 20-year plan.
probably.
So we are going to talk about power. We're going to try to get through this quickly. I'll be honest, I have misplaced my notes and I don't know where they're at. So we're going to kind of wing it here.
I got a results page pulled up.
I don't know where the promos are at. I think that's my big deal.
This gives them so.
So of course this is the episode of Power. We see Matt Cardona. He was advertised. As far as I knew, Matt Cardona was done with the NWA. He made the great. He got signed or drafted to MLW. I mean, he recently got, I guess, booted out of the wrestling promotion that runs in the ECW arena when Bully Ray put him through a flaming table. Kind of thought that would be the it for Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, but no, he's back, and he is. Surprisingly, he's here to save the NWA. He's unwavered on his goal to save the NWA, and he has this very impassioned promo where he acknowledges his failures and his injuries prevented him from being the champion he wanted to be. He admitted to that losing to Rolando, having his family turn on him, but he's still here to save the NWA, which is kind of ironic because we listened to EC3 talking about the same thing, is that he's here to bring the nostalgic wrestling alliance to the forefront. And now you have two conflicting ideas of wrestlers who think they know how to save the NWA. So I'm not saying that this is going to lead to a title match or anything else like that, but Matt Cardona announces that he will have an open challenge. I hope to God it's not Rolando. I hope to God it's not anyone we've seen before. It might be Mike Knox, but I hope it's something different, something new, maybe a new feud for Matt Cardona. You know what would be great? It'd be someone like Jordan Clearwater.
Okay, it'd be a good match.
I'm just saying, somebody who would benefit from having a victory over Matt Cardona. If you put Matt Cardona over, that's great. I guess if you're going to put him back in the title picture, that's a good way to start it. But don't bring Rolando out there. Don't bring on Zion or any of those guys. I mean, give me somebody who's like, hey, this guy has potential. Let's put him in a position where he can be successful.
Maybe kind of sort of see that. Since you're bringing that up first, I'll go ahead and talk about it. But this surprised me in that nobody grown bigger than me when I heard that Cardona was coming in and going to make an announcement. But as a tape promo, I actually thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And the way he talked, it's like, why the F didn't they bring him in this way the first time?
Yeah.
I mean, this was so much better than the first time he came in. And where he's not kind of a goofy, stupid character going, oh, I'm here to save the NWA. Everybody loved me. He's here going, damn, my life sucks. And he was serious. He was very serious in his talk. And he was very serious in the way that in what he said and what he meant and all that. And I truly enjoyed this. And I don't think this is a case where it's going to be Rolando. God, it better not be. I don't think it's a case where it's going to be Rolando. I don't know who it's going to be. Hopefully it will be somebody that has a little bit of name value. If Cardona is going over, it needs to be somebody who has a little bit of name value, and it needs to not be Knox, because they need to keep him out of this and focus him on his tag team. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm not saying it has to be somebody who's not currently in the NWA, but I don't want it to be Bully Ray.
No, and I don't mind if Bully Ray is at the pay-per-view. I don't mind if he has a match, but I don't want it to be anything to do with Matt Cardona. I don't want him and Matt Cardona anywhere near each other. I think one of the reasons why I got so bored with Matt Cardona is it felt like he was just doing a rehash of what he did 6-7 weeks earlier in GCW. And I felt like all we got was the GCW rerun.
Well, and we did. And it wasn't just a GCW rerun. This is what he was doing everywhere on the indies.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you do it in GCW and you do it in the NWA, and he was in Impact at the time, but not in the same way, then
he lost his luster.
Yeah, I mean it burns fast. So everybody in the indies seen it. Everybody in GCW's seen it. Everybody who's watching NWA seen it, and it's just like, honestly, it wasn't a very good storyline. I think it worked better in GCW because of him being that heel that was against their style of wrestling. But yeah, I mean, it didn't work in the NWA, and then when they brought on EC3, who had the exact same gimmick, I don't know. Nick Aldis, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like they could do something really good with this version of Cardona. I don't know that I give them credit not to screw it up, but I feel that they could do something that was good. And let's see. Cardona seems to be a little bit like Nick Aldis. I think he has a little more control over his creative. Unfortunately, the last time he had a little more control over his creative, we end up with Rondo.
Yeah.
So let's see. Maybe he's figured out he has to adapt.
Dave Scooby brings up, if Cardona sticks around, have him bring Steph DeLander to join him and Camille as a new challenger. I think that would be fine. I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah, I don't know who it is, but sure.
Oh, she's a former WWE developmental, and she kind of has replaced Chelsea Green with Cardona on the indies. She's kind of like his chick, but unlike Chelsea Green, she's a much stronger, more physical wrestler. It works. They work together.
I was going to say, I don't think I would say that to Chelsea, but
No, I mean, no. But anyways, I know for the next match, or the first match of the night, we had the returning Colby Carino taking on Alex Taylor. This is the first time we've seen Colby in a ring, in the NWA Power ring, since he was rumored to be heading to the WWE. This was a good match. I thought this was a great match. Alex Taylor, I think, is continuously getting better. I think Colby Carino is a great, heel, but he kind of worked more as a babyface in this match. And it's kind of interesting because he came out there, but Jamie Stanley wasn't in tow. It was him against Taylor and Deals, but the advertisement for the pay-per-view shows Jamie Stanley in his corner. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. It was a pretty straight-up match. Deals didn't really get too much involved with, if I remember correctly. But it was a fun match. What were your thoughts on that one?
Me?
Who?
Anyone.
JD. You go first, DK, because I'm going to rip it apart.
All right. Here's where I'm probably going to fall in the middle of Jay and Jaden. It was one of those that I could say in isolation. I thought the match was fine. Not special, but fine. I had a major fucking issue with the fact that they're trying to get the Southern Six over. This is a match for them on Power. They have Danny Deals, none of the other members, and he just gets easily beaten. Little check back. I looked up Steph DeLander, and she was Persia Peralta in NXT, and I semi remember that name, so I'd probably recognize her if I saw her. But getting back to the thing, yeah, I mean, I feel like booking wise, it was some of the dumbest booking decisions she could have made. So I don't know, Jaden, shred it to bits.
All right, number one, if you're trying to get the Southern Six over and you're trying to get them to be something and special by throwing Alex Taylor in here, where in a match where he was obviously was going to lose, that the match didn't look like a struggle, didn't look like it's two people trying to actually put on a competitive exhibition, and then Colby Corino was just a better wrestler. It just felt like a dance routine. It's a simple. There was none of the holds looked like they hurt. Not even the finish. None of the holds looked like they hurt. None of the when the time they landed on each other, they barely touched each other. It just didn't feel like an actual wrestling match. It just felt like a bunch of guys trying to do fancy shit and not doing it well. It wasn't really competitive. Didn't feel like a struggle. Didn't feel like neither of them were trying to win. It just felt like they were trying to put on a fancy dancy flippy match. And again, as they're hitting each other, they didn't even look like they were really. It barely landed. It just nothing looked to make it look like it was a wrestling match. It just looked like a dance routine, and the booking was stupid. Corino needs to go over. Corino needs a good match to go over and whatever. And if they're going to do the indie stupid matches that don't look like they're actually doing anything to each other and they're cooperating, then whatever. But if you're trying to make Alex Taylor actually mean anything and the Southern Six mean anything, this was not a way to do so. It just made him look like a nobody that didn't mean anything, just thrown in there. Not even Lucha Libre, because at least Lucha Libre is fast and athletic. It was slower than Lucha Libre, and it just didn't have anything. It was just a bunch of guys flipping and not really acting like they were trying to win a match.
This was the Alex Taylor that was wrestling here was the Alex Taylor that was in that one tag team with, Johnny Yuma.
Yes, the ill-begotten.
Yeah, the ill-begotten. I could not remember their name to save my life. I mean, this was ill-begotten Taylor and Alex Taylor, and they should not have put this match. Again, this is where sometimes and by the way, do managers do anything worth any value in the NWA?
No.
I don't know why they have them. Anyway. Okay, I won't open that can of worms. But I think it's just, again, sometimes I feel like where they are in interviews and talks, and then what they put on in the ring aren't lined up, and so this should have been Alex Taylor should not have been in the ring with Corino, because Corino needs to win. And since he's going after the junior heavyweight title. So Taylor needs to be in a thing. I mean, I think this is one of those things where you put him in with, you put Corino in with like Dak Draper or somebody. And, there's your number one contender for the junior heavyweight title. Now we got it. You put Taylor in the ring with enhancement talent and let him beat him up.
Hey, we have a friend that I'd like to bring on. Somebody you guys know fairly well. Dave Marquez. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Marquez.
Hi.
He hates me, but hey,
Is he in Hollywood striking right now?
It's hot.
Dave, I bet it is hot.
Dave, you're not striking right now, are you?
Striking? No. I am quite the opposite.
You're working.
Yes. Because the industry does not accept professional wrestling as real mainstream entertainment.
All right.
Yeah.
So you messaged me and asked to come on. You have something you'd like to talk about?
I did. So I was listening, and the dog might bark here. That's what we're doing. We're walking. So I was listening, didn't take it as if you were talking about me, but uh, the smaller companies are not having a plan, or Billy's vanity. Being someone who's been in the room with all of the people that you're talking about, I could assure you, everybody has a plan. Nobody wants to fail. As much as one thing or another may be in a bit, in a vain way, just because of personalities and the fact that it is show business. I mean, Vanity got Vince McMahon $9 billion. So, with not just allegations, proof of doing things that were not so cool. So I just want you guys to understand that none of us do this for the sake of just spending money or finding money marks or anything of the like. So if you have some questions, I'd be happy to answer them or find an answer for you guys, because I know you guys are real dedicated to professional wrestling, which is awesome. But I want you guys about putting out the right stuff. I know it's opinion, but I don't know. I personally work awfully hard in doing what I do, and I feel that I'm extremely successful at what I do, and I've launched hundreds of careers. So there is a place for people like me or Court Bauer or Scott or Billy at our level. I mean, Scott D'Amore has a major corporation behind him, a big media company, virtually the Turner Broadcasting of Canada. You know, so anyway,
Hey, I do have a question for you involving one of the things we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the things that I do feel can be an issue just in wrestling in general even up when ROH was doing this and everything. So that, this is not something I'm picking on anybody for, but as somebody who does it, what are some of the struggles that you deal with when you're having to tape like a month's worth of shows, or in the NWA's case, up to 2 to 3 months worth of shows in one setting, and then the world changes somewhere in the middle?
I don't have many struggles outside of money, but I'm the truest of independent out there. I have no investors. I am completely independent in the sense that my programming is all financed by advertising. I have that over the rest of them. No one else has sponsors. Everybody's using corporate money or personal money in doing what they do. Court Bauer has investors. I used to direct his show. Like, I met these people. Impact, they have a major parent company. And even when you talk about Ring of Honor, they had a gigantic parent company, and they had a budget of 15, 20 million a year. I operate on under $1 million a year and do what I do. So, and it's all advertising driven, all of it. And still, make a good living. So I don't see problems. I don't look at it maybe as the same point of view as viewers like you guys, because I'm in it. If Corrigan wants to hire Earth and pay them what they agreed to work for, and he's booking something and putting it on the air, and let's say it's vain for himself, okay, so be it. It's his. People could say the same thing when I ran it and, made Blue Demon the champion, or made Brent Albright the champion, or when we were in business with the Jarretts, and, we took the title off of Severn to put it on Ron Killings. It's all these little thievedoms, and whoever has the ball is the guy who's going to run it. I do agree that things would be much better if there was more cooperation, but we don't have to cooperate in today's world, because media distribution, much like what we're doing here right now, it's so accessible. We're all of the age of, boy, wouldn't it be great to be on ABC in prime time? That's not necessarily the case, and I'm a broadcaster. If you've seen in the news lately, Disney's looking to sell ABC. So it's not traditional media, the deal, even AEW's deals. Like, it's big money in the hundreds of millions of dollars, but there's still a huge deficit there. And the WWE, same thing. Like, we're all paying the same prices to people. Like, if you're an enhancement talent on WWE, I believe the starting rate is $250 for the day.
You're correct.
You know, that is well below any type of industry on their level. If you want to say there's only one real company, you know, they're a major supplier of television with a major licensing deal with two big companies, broadcast companies. But they're not held accountable because they write their own rules. So on my show, I pay guys the same price because in theory, that's the industry standard. They've said it. So, but yeah, it's like nobody's going out there necessarily just to do a giant circle jerk, you know. Everyone has their own plan, and yes, I'll tell you because I was in the room. Billy does have a 20-year plan. It may not be what you and I would consider. What's that?
That was going to be my question to you without giving up too much inside baseball. I mean, you were in the room, and we've had that debate on this show for, well, since Billy's been in charge, that 20-year plan. I mean, I know that you don't exactly follow the NWA, but how close is he been to what he had planned when you were there?
He's still on track. His plan was to produce some sort of weekly television, whether it's a YouTube or fight or, I don't know if you guys know this. They had a Turner deal before AEW came along.
Yeah.
The first deal that we had, quote unquote, was with the Bleacher Report. That's where NWA programming was going to go, and they were going to pay for it. And then AEW popped up, and forget it. One thing I will agree with you guys too. You said that he didn't want investors. That's true. Gary Vaynerchuk offered to put millions behind the Billy Corgan NWA, and he declined it. And how I got into business with Billy Corgan was kind of on the same principles. He came to me and offered me money to put into United Wrestling Network, or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood at the time. And I saw the writing on the wall that I couldn't work with him as a partner in that capacity, because I had my ideas of what we were going to do, and he had his ideas of what he wanted to do. And I was of the old guard, so, it just wasn't going to work.
You're telling me you didn't want Gags the Gimp on your Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and other programmings?
Well, he was on the show. He was just called Johnny Yuma.
You're breaking the fame, Dave.
I've had.
Did we lose him?
You might have lost him.
His internet's probably connecting with the house.
We've done stupid shit by throwing people in the garbage trucks, and we've done our own embarrassing things over the years. So,
okay. So you just admitted that. So let's ask. What is something that you look back and you've seen and you go, what the hell was I thinking?
I don't know.
What was something that you go back and you go, what were we thinking when we did that?
I don't know if I've ever been in that position. And again, I don't think that's vanity or anything like that talking. I mean, we've done silly stuff to grab attention, and it worked for our areas that we were in. But I don't think I've ever done. I mean, Jason probably has a better handle on this than me, to be honest with you. I don't think we've done anything embarrassing, where it's like, fuck, why did we do that? I mean, we did do a tag team tournament that went fucking nowhere. That was stupid. that went on for like a year. That was the dumbest fucking thing. But that's because we had bookers at the time that they sold it to me, and I was like, oh, okay. I forgot what it was. Do you remember what that was called?
I don't even remember that.
Well, I was going to say, I'm having a hard time remembering that one.
See,
Must have been great then.
Well, now that you said it, it's like, yeah, you guys did have a tournament for something, but
we did. It was a tag team tournament with like 30 fucking teams, and Angelo and Schmo put this thing together, and it went nowhere fast.
See, that's a legitimate answer to my question, I feel.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think we've done anything embarrassing, nor do I feel that, Yuma playing this GIMP character is embarrassing.
I do.
It's a character.
Yeah, we're going to agree to disagree on that one.
Well, that's fine. You can. But in the realm of, Mantar, like it's something you put on, you have to do things and take chances and use characters that, you may not agree with. Like, it's just like, I'm trying to think of characters we've done over the years.
Yeah,
we made that one guy a bowling ball, but he didn't last. You remember that guy?
Yes.
What was his name? We made him a bowler.
Yes,
I thought it would work.
I know who you're talking, and that was a Yuma idea. I know that for certain.
Yeah, it was, but it would have worked, and it would have helped him.
Yeah.
But he just wasn't in on it. He didn't want to be the Big Lebowski. He didn't think it would work. It didn't work.
And I think when it comes to characters, Dave, and I'm going to echo something you've told me years ago. It's like whoever you're trying to produce has to want to be produced. They have to go out there and sell it. And if in I know that you're a big fan of Yuma, and I know that sometimes you guys aren't exactly on the same page right now, but you've never said a negative thing about Yuma as far as I know. And I think as a fan of someone who represents this NWA, that we've been podcasting about this for over 15 years, Dave. Seeing somebody like Yuma under the GIMP mask, I think to me that's just a little bit awkward when you have a program that's kind of like geared towards the family environment.
No, you can't. I don't think you can say that, because as upfront as the character is, in mainstream entertainment, those characters also exist in movies, in television. So, like, that's a big stickler with me right now. If you follow like my Facebook and stuff, I'm always asking these questions, like, why in a movie is it okay for characters to do things, but in pro wrestling, if there's a character near that, or they say something, or they're a Nazi, or they're a whatever type of a villainous character, it's wrong. You can't do it because it's wrestling. So I don't subscribe to that. That really bothers me, because we're entertainment. We should be able to do whatever we want, how we want, as long as it's telling the story. It's just wrestling fans, for some reason, and it's probably social media more than anything, that now it's the secret is out there, and it's no longer just an individual playing. Ric Flair is not Richard Fleer today. Think back when Ric Flair, he was womanizing. He was out there touching women, calling women names. He was doing all the Me Too stuff that today you quote unquote couldn't do on TV, based on what the wrestling fans say. But if he was booked in a movie, as casted in a movie to play that same character of a Hugh Hefner type, in a movie, to be that womanizing, it's okay because he's playing a role. Well, he's playing a role in wrestling too. Now we just know more about his real life.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a question from one of our viewers, Mandy. Hey, Mandy. And she goes, I wonder what Dave thinks about Billy's negative comments on the fans and his booking decisions. Something we've talked about on this show before. Is that
what do you say?
Billy often comes across as having a chip on his shoulder. The first thing he said, I'm sorry, Jay, were you talking?
No, go ahead.
The first thing he said, he was saying something involving Tyrus, where if you just don't like Tyrus, supposedly what he was trying to say is, if you don't like Tyrus because of his political views, then you're not a wrestling fan, which is a statement in general I can semi-agree with. The way it came out and across to most people is, if you don't like Tyrus as a champion because he brings the heat, then you're not a true wrestling fan. And it really kind of
Rub people the wrong
blew
way.
up. So there's what he claims he was trying to say, and then the words that actually kind of came out.
No, I got you. I mean, I have told fans to their faces to fuck off and get out of my building if they didn't like what they're seeing, without a refund. And Jay's been there; he's seen me do it. It's a when you're. I'll tell you this: Billy is passionate about what he's doing. And I don't agree with a lot of what he does in his operation and his managerial style. We're completely different people in that respect. And Billy, I think, he has all the liberty in the world to say what he wants, especially when he's putting millions of his own dollars into it. The statement that you know, if you don't like Tyrus from his wrestling point of view, that you're not a wrestling fan. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, but he has the right to say it.
Sure. I think,
they have the right to say it, but the fans have a right to react to that too, don't you think?
Oh, sure. Don't buy tickets. Don't go to the show. You have.
I mean, I agree with that philosophy.
You absolutely do. But you know, George or Tyrus is a great friend of mine, and I don't agree with him at all politically. I don't feel that he necessarily is the person who should be the world champion at this point and as this long from a business perspective, but it's not my business. I don't know if there is some sort of relationship with Fox News and them allowing him to wear the title on television. I don't know what the relationship is. I don't know if it's just to appease or be something different or whatever. I have no idea. But coming from news and coming from broadcast television, I know that someone somewhere high up had to say yes to that. And there should be some sort of reciprocal something there. You know, didn't he wear the belt in the Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah,
he did.
Well, there you go. So there's some value there too. But again, I don't know what his plans are.
That was back in January too. I don't know if he's still.
Well, it doesn't matter.
We could also debate. We could also debate whether or not him wearing the belt on Fox News or him wearing the belt in the Super Bowl has added value to the NWA. I mean, we just got off of a pay-per-view, the 312 pay-per-view. It wasn't like a sold-out crowd, and he was headlining it. That was his pay-per-view.
Sure.
But again, that's all debatable. And again, it's not a publicly traded company. We don't know the numbers.
Sure.
We can't really speak to that. I can say what I like and what I don't like, but I can't tell you that it is good or bad for business because that information is for Billy, not for me.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, like, just running my company, the car wash commercials that were still running, they've been on for fucking ever, but they paid me for that.
Yeah.
So I have to run it as long as they keep paying us. So yeah. I don't know what the deal is with Fox or with Tyrus, and what the long-term thinking is there. I have no idea. But as the owner of the company and being in the same position as he is, yes, I think he has all the right in the world to tell someone what he feels. But in the same turn, you guys could say what you want too. Doesn't mean he has to listen to you.
Right. Well, he doesn't. That's for sure.
I know.
Another question I had for you, Dave, is, obviously you have been on broadcast TV, not ABC, not Fox.
Well, that's not true.
NBC.
I was on 3 ABC owned and operated stations, so I was on ABC. Go ahead.
I retract my statement. But what I'm saying is you haven't been on a major network and you've had a lot of success. I was saying earlier on the show before you jumped on, I think you've been in the Los Angeles market on TV for almost like 14 years now, I think.
If KDOC would have been on the air today, we would be on for 15 years.
So then the point I guess I'm asking is, and you being familiar with Billy, and I can't ask you to speak for Billy, but as a wrestling promoter, why do you think he sticks to a YouTube instead of going the route that you went, that could put him on TV? Like, look, we used to talk about it all the time with Bill Behrens and how he would syndicate the Anarchy or Wild Side all over the U.S. Why do you think Billy, this is your opinion, not fact, but why do you think Billy doesn't do that with Power or USA or any of the properties that he's had?
Well, one, it's difficult. It's difficult to find airtime, first and foremost.
He's right. Even with 20 billion stations, it's real difficult. It really is.
Well,
he's not wrong on that.
There aren't 20 billion stations. There's probably, broadcast television, as an example. There are no longer hundreds of independent television station owners, in your town, wherever you're at. Some way back when the person who built the radio station probably owned the newspaper, and in the 50s or 60s starting a television station. So now there are these station groups. So it's Gray Broadcasting, Nexstar, General Media, Byron Allen. These are basically the major owners of a big Sinclair, big clusters of TV stations. And you have one person makes the decision of what goes on all of those clusters of stations. So a Sinclair or a Nexstar group, they have like 200 plus TV stations each. And I'm sure if you watch local television, you'll notice the trend that the majority of what's on the air anymore is local news. It could be 5-6 hours straight now. There's no more game shows. There's no more really judge shows. You might find that on an independent, but on a network affiliate, that's going to be really difficult to find. So when it comes to a person like me, or Billy, or Court Bauer, or whoever, it's very difficult to find those time slots. So since I was ahead of the game, going back to the 90s, and like Bill Behrens, who knows that, I don't know if people know this, Bill Behrens was a syndicator. That's what he did before he got into wrestling. He worked for Universal. So the Incredible Hulk and those types of shows, A-Team, that was Bill putting them on in the South. So he already had relationships with the TV stations. And I came in the back way in the very tail end of that type of syndication and made friends with people and, been able to do that. But on the Billy side, I tried to put Power. I wanted to cut it down. Lagana and we were going to cut it down to, I think, half hours for broadcast, for syndication, especially in Georgia, in Savannah, Atlanta, Southern Alabama, which, drivable to get to Atlanta and at the PBS studio. Billy was against it. He didn't want to do it. And I feel it was because it wasn't that shine of having a big studio or somebody paying you for the programming, being competitive or being considered, on the same tier as the WWE or AEW now. And think about it, New Japan has never had television here, and I tried.
I remember.
No,
I like that show, by the way. I
tried.
I very much enjoyed that show, and I always wish they'd have given you a longer leash on that one, because you were doing some pretty cool stuff. And people don't know it nationally, but here locally, I mean, you had Samoa Joe defending the Ring of Honor World Championship on that program. You had guys like Aaron Aguilera and Adam Pearce and CM Punk and Colt Cabana and Rocky Romero, Ricky Reyes. I mean, TJ Perkins, a great crew to have on.
We had Nakamura, we had Makabe, we had Liger, we had who else was on that damn show? Punk did the commentary.
Yeah, Punk did commentary, and he always threatened to challenge Joe for the title. Yeah, Jay Bradley, if we were going to go back in time there. And one of my favorite moments is you had Makabe on that show, and he wrestled against Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor title, and that was...
I mean, we did an angle with Adam Pearce and Toru Yano, and then they ended up being tag partners.
The beer and sake connection.
That's
I remember.
I hate that. Yeah, I hate that, but yeah.
I also remember very vividly, Dave, being at the Hollywood Sport Athletic Club when we had when you had, I can't say we, I was there, and you had Heat defend the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against Brian Danielson, the American Dragon.
That's right.
And Joni Lauer was singing a song at the show, and then we also had Nakamura and Ken Shamrock and like a worked shoot fight that was pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, so again, like even with UPW having John Cena, who wasn't John Cena, of course, trying to get them on local television with WWE talent on the show. We had Triple H, we had Minion, what's his name? Naked Midian, was that his name? Midian?
Yeah, Naked
Midian. Yeah.
We had him. We had the Hardys. We had, we had a lot of WWE current people, RVD on our show, Victoria, and we couldn't even get that on local television.
That's true.
And that was then. That was in 99, 2000, 2001.
Hey, Dave.
And XPW bought their way on TV.
Yeah.
When I was producing that show. So it's just so difficult. And that's, Billy, I don't blame him for not wanting to do it. Plus you had to pay for editing, and the show was, live to tape already when we did it in the studio, and, the segments might not line up and you have to shoot new stuff. There's a lot of particulars that go into that.
What about and this is something probably one of our biggest complaints about the NWA. And again, I know this, we're talking about the NWA, a product you're not really affiliated with at this point in time.
I watch it though. Don't get me wrong. I still watch it. There's tons of my friends there. I watch it.
You have so many people who sat under your leadership tree, your knowledge tree, but the taping schedule, Dave. Like, I always talk about, wow, how does Dave Marquez manage to do one show a month, get 4 weeks of television, 3 to 4 weeks of television, and do it so clean and crisp, and then the NWA ends up doing like 2 or 3 days of TV tapings and stretch that out for months, and then somebody gets injured, somebody gets signed, and the stories just won't line up at that point, and now you're force feeding something or trying to edit it on the fly to try to make it make sense. And why, what's the benefit to doing it, 2 or 3 days worth of tapings for, 3 months of television?
Well, that part I can't answer. I have my way of doing it. It's a proven formula. I don't know from behind the scenes there today. I don't even know who's writing it. I don't know who's in charge. I don't know. I know Billy Trask is still hitting buttons, and he's doing his job. But I don't know anybody else and what they're doing or where they're going with that. There's a simplistic format that you can follow, even if you lose talent, because I've lost hundreds of guys over the years right in the middle of programs. And there's ways to write them off. And usually the promotions will work with you wherever they're going so that you could end it, and wrap it up. You just have to ask. But again, I don't know if it's a personality conflict of people leaving. I'm not too familiar with the NWA and losing talent and whatnot right now. But for myself, we write things out till the end of the year. We already know what's going to happen in January, so it's just planning, and I don't know who's on that end doing that right now. When I was around it, I was a part of it in the planning and creative, not the main guy, but that was all David Lagana. So if he doesn't have a David Lagana there now, I don't know how to answer that.
I think some of his, I'm going to be fair here. I think a lot of his losses are just people getting signed elsewhere. It's just, by the, and Jay was mentioning earlier, like Taya Valkyrie, who still had several canned matches going in the TV tapings, and she's on Impact winning their tag team title. And there was just kind of some you know, she was talking on the show like, here, I'm going to be around, I'm going to be doing this, and then she's kind of gone. It's just,
Well, then, like what we do, I mean, we tell the truth. I've many times had guys go on the air and just end it and talk about, you know, their plans have changed, things have shifted, life goes on. I mean, we did it with LA Knight probably 4 times.
That real quick, since you brought up his name in DK, I'll let you get to the rest of your question, but this is something we've all thought. If you were in that position of deciding who was your world's heavyweight champion when you were with the NWA that last run, would Eli Drake have been a guy that you would have had beat Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold?
Yeah, and that was part of the plan. If you remember, Jason, you may have been in Port Hueneme. Do you remember when we shot an angle with Brian Cage saying that he was going to be the NWA World Champion and making motions of the belt and all of that? That was all planned. We agreed on that. And Brian Cage was supposed to beat Tim Storm originally, and then somehow, some way, they left California and Nick Aldis got it. But then again, and then, you know, just to show how in I was at the time, it happened at CZW when I owned a percentage of the company. We did it over there. So we knew the video quality would be good. We knew there'd be people there. You know, we knew all that kind of stuff. So, but no, yeah, Ricker was.
Did you know? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you know the reaction would be as bad as it was? I mean,
that doesn't matter.
Saw that.
That doesn't matter.
You didn't think that the crowd shitting on everything was bad perception?
No. Because look, we're still talking about it today, years later.
Yeah, but not positively.
Doesn't matter.
You know, health inspector shuts down a restaurant. It's got publicity. I wouldn't call it good publicity.
It doesn't matter.
I want to go somewhere else because
but understand this, guys. You guys
back so
from
far.
Your perspective. You guys looking at it from your perspective, from a fan perspective, has zero to do with the business side of it. Because what happens. We continue, and the images are there, and we recut the footage the way we want it, and we tell the story the way we want it, the way we need it, in order to get to the next step. So Nick Aldis was a big G.I. Joe, and
to Jaden's credit,
he went on to do what he did.
He's been on the business side of it for many years. So
say that again.
Yeah, I've been in wrestling. I've been a wrestler. I've been a manager. I've been a promoter. I've been a commentator. I went to television because I wanted to get into television to do television wrestling.
Yeah.
And I know the perception, especially in this area, that
you're in Jersey. You're in Jersey?
Yeah. In this area,
didn't we sell our belts to you?
Somebody did.
Ricky O?
Yeah, Ricky O did, yeah.
Those are my belts too.
The television ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me guess.
He doesn't use them anymore, by the way.
I still have them, but in fact, I'm getting them re-leathered because the leather on that was starting to fall apart. But yeah, they were very nice though, and they were heavy. I like the fact that they were so heavy. But yeah, the perception, and especially in my area, that put the NWA in a very negative light in this area. People did not talk positively about the NWA and CZW. People that were the old school fans hated it because CZW.
CZW is a different story. That's why I got out of it.
Yeah. But there was a real negative perception from the NWA of that happening. That may have hurt NWA in this area. It could have possibly hurt NWA anywhere else, don't you think? Like, when people see that, NWA lost a lot of luster working with CZW. It's the same thing if they were working with XPW.
I don't think so at all, because the numbers when we premiered Power proves that that's not true.
Well,
yeah, but what about in the area? Did my particular area draw really well with the NWA area?
They had no plans to go back to Jersey.
I mean, but you were saying Power's numbers, did they draw well here?
If you can. Look, I really want to shift the subject because this is something that we can argue about forever and a day. And, you know, when it boils down to whatever, it's opinion. But I do want to get your opinion on something. I want to get your opinion on 2 old school things way back, really tax Dave Marquez memory. So the first thing I want to get your opinion on is, I can't remember the tournament name, Return to Glory, Return of Glory, whatever.
Reclaiming the Glory.
Reclaiming the Glory.
Yeah.
So I want to get your thoughts on that tournament. I'll give a little bit of background on my thoughts to it. I was really excited when they first did it, but then, in the first round really seemed to go well, but then we didn't really hear much in the next rounds until Adam Pearce lost to Daniel Bryan, and then we had the final main event that kind of got back in. Now, originally, if I understand correctly, the idea was to put this out on DVD, because it was back in the days that DVDs were very popular among wrestling fans, and there are issues there. So I'm kind of curious about if you can tell us what were some of the issues, why that didn't go off of plan, and why kind of in the middle of the tournament we stopped hearing about it.
Because the promoters fell off. People weren't excited about it. They didn't put it together. The matches that was put together by Pierce, me, and Bob Trowbridge. Ed Schumann had a little bit to do with it too. And when we put the tournament together, Brian was scheduled to win. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the photos out there of Brian holding the world title. I shot all those. Those were all shot in Santa Monica on the beach. He was scheduled to go to Perth, Australia. That was going to be his first tour as world champion. That's what those promos were shot for, going to Australia. And it's just the promoters. They just didn't give a fuck, period. If, let's say, we were going to send him a match of, I'm trying to think of names that were in that. At the time, let's say Fred Sampson and what's the guy from Atlanta, blonde guy? Who was
Chad Parham.
Okay, so imagine you're a promoter, and I'm saying, you, Ricky Nelson, you're going to do the Chad Parham, Fred Sampson match. Go. We're like, who the fuck are these guys? So they didn't get excited behind it, and that's what happened. And why a lot of things were associated with me was because I knew I was going to produce it the right way. We'd get tapes and footage back of one crooked camera. It was embarrassing. I wouldn't put that out, and we didn't. It wasn't what we were trying to do. There was, not to get too fucking nerdy about this, but I even put a style book together, an AP style book for the NWA. Pantone color this. The logo has to be presented like this. It can't be this. It can't be that. And everybody told me to go fuck off. So everybody had their own version of the logo. I reintroduced what we call the Atari Crockett logo. I'm the guy who did the art for it.
I love that one, by the way.
People are still using it today. We did it as a gimmick on MAV TV just to see what happens from a programming point of view. Whenever we represented or acknowledged the LLC, we always used the NWA traditional logo, but the show logo was that, Crockett style logo. And then you had all these other folks that came in with difference of opinion. You had this guy called Costello, I remember, who was going to change the world. And then you had fucking Fred being an asshole and fucking everything up every which goddamn way. So it's what it is. And then Howard, it sucks he's fucking dead, but I would call Howard right now and still yell at him about shit he did. So it's and it's not a sore subject, by the way. I'm just passionate about what happened in the past because things could have been a whole lot different.
Yeah, and
as they say at the American Adventure at Walt Disney World at Epcot, Benjamin Franklin is talking to Thomas Jefferson, and he goes, Thomas, it's hard to get 13 clocks to chime at the same time. So that was our problem.
Yeah, from a fan perspective, I know a lot of us were just kind of we were excited about the tournament, and then just kind of got disappointed how it just disappeared from play. Okay, so that was one question. My second question, old time, let's see what Dave Marquez can remember and tell us about. NWA Showcase on Colors.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's fun.
Kind of 2 seasons of it. It was kind of promoted out to the fans as an NWA run show.
Yeah.
Now I've heard debates about whether it was an NWA run show or Marquez run
No,
show.
it was ran by me. It was ran by me.
I mean, we knew you ran it, but like we didn't know. Did you run it? Did you book it? Were you doing everything for it, or was it? Okay, that's one of the things I want to know. Okay, so it kind of ran for 2 seasons. I think there were 13, 14 episodes in each season. I don't remember exactly.
That sounds right.
I actually liked it. It was pretty good. We actually had a future world champion. You had a future world champion on there as your commentator, and Rob Conway. And so I really enjoyed the show when I watched it. But can you explain as to why it kind of ran 2 seasons and just 13 episodes in each season? And what was it like? Because, again, the NWA was kind of presenting it as in, here is our show.
Oh, yeah, that. I shot that.
Oh.
I found the picture. I just wanted to pull it out. Sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Back to colors.
Yeah, well,
colors.
The reason is Pro Wrestling Organization LLC. That's the reason. It goes back to our version of Continental Congress and us not being able to order a cup of coffee together. And why Bob Trowbridge became the executive director, because the presidency was a bullshit title, and people who had it felt that they were truly in charge. Now that it's so far removed, I used LLC money when I was the treasurer to do stuff to benefit us when nobody else would do it, without permission, and got tons of shit for it. But that's how you get Colt Cabana as the world champion. Like, no one wanted to do anything. We couldn't buy paper clips unless 31 of us said yes. It was stupid. It's outdated. The whole fucking territory thing is dumb. I was stupid for trying to bring it back.
You're making so many people sad right now, Dave, because we all love the territory.
Listen, I will never agree with the NWA died because it didn't. Never. But the concept of territories or franchises, if there wasn't a uniform model to go by, and every area looked the same, a Big Mac's a Big Mac's a Big Mac, it doesn't work. Back in the day, it did work, although, ring colors were different and presentations were different. The meat was the same. It's just today, nobody cares.
Well, even back in the day, if you weren't a tape trader once tape started, and if you go back any further than that, what you saw in Texas happened in Texas, and really you read very little about it in wrestling magazines. They just kind of talk. So it was okay for big time wrestling, later world class, to have its look, its style, its way of presenting things. It was okay for Georgia Championship Wrestling to have its look and its style. But, then when they take off on TBS, there's some change. Mid-Atlantic was a tag team territory, even after they, started bringing in some of the other things. They did a lot of tag team wrestling. Mid-South had its style. Tri-State had its style. Mid-America had their style. They were all different, and nobody really knew what was going on in another territory. Just like they didn't really know, they didn't realize that, in a month, the champion defended the title against the same guy 27 times, because they're all on spot shows. They're all different things like that. And so I agree. You can't have an alliance in today's thing or a franchise unless it's a McDonald's type franchise thing. If you want to franchise it, then, and look, there's argument whether Ronquillo and them tried it at first, but you can't, but nobody wants to do it. And one former NWA promoter told me flat out he has no he had no intention of putting over any NWA championship because it was his guys that it was important for him to have over.
And which one was this? It doesn't fucking matter. It's dead in that respect. Who was it? I'll tell you why they said that.
It was Tony Givens.
Okay. Well, Tony had his own chip. One, he wasn't a member. He was an associate. So he had no rights.
Well, he told me this when he was a licensee, but yeah.
Okay. That was with Bruce.
Right. But I mean, same concept. I mean,
Well, when I was running in Knoxville, and he was just down the street, he wouldn't even cooperate with me. And I tried. So it was his fiefdom. It was his concept. It was his idea.
And I feel like it was an idea that was shared a lot. You know, one of the things that we fans.
Put it this way. What's his name? Tony Anthony? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Guy with the beard? Is that his name? Guy with the big beard, Anthony? Huh?
You talking about the former Tony Rumble?
No, not Tony Rumble. He's from that area. He was tag partners with Matt Riviera.
Greg Anthony.
Guys like that would never have been the NWA World Champion, and those are the guys he was using.
Right.
I think he's coming back, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, that was his version of dropping the mic.
He dropped the mic.
That was drama.
Yeah, you know, and when he would bring in Jack Stain quite a bit, but he always put Jack Stain in the middle of the card against a mid-card guy.
Yep. I mean, again, in those territorial days, putting over the local guy was important. But in modern times, when people are watching Raw, and Raw is WrestleMania every Monday night, it doesn't work.
Hey, Dave. Why did they? Well, I know that you have a good relationship with Jack Stain. We've talked about this off the air, but could you tell us why you never were able to book him as a world champion after you left the NWA?
I was banned.
They wouldn't let you.
No, fuck no.
Would you have had Bruce been like, I don't give a fuck? Would you have?
Well, probably. I mean, that whole Bruce thing was hostile. Like that wasn't a good time. You know, going to court and judgments and all that stuff. That was not a good time.
Do you listen to the White Lavender Jones album? And what are your thoughts on it?
Again, it was very creative and quite possibly the best thing Bruce ever did.
I was there when a certain individual invaded Hollywood and attacked our world champion, and then that person would end up winning the championship later down the road. And you know who I'm talking about. I think everyone in the chat knows who I'm talking about. Would you have ever considered using the Sheik going forward, or is he a guy that you completely just no deal?
No, I'm not a fan of his at all. He still has the belt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That brings me a question into my mind. It's basically been noted Sheik won the title because Ed Schumann wanted him to hold it.
Yes.
And Ed Schumann was a rarity in that I've never had any promoter I've talked to on or off the record say anything bad about him.
About Ed?
Yeah.
Oh, I could say tons of bad shit about Ed, but I love him.
But you know what? I mean, I'm not saying there's not bad things about him, but normally
and people can say tons of bad shit about me, and it's probably true.
Yeah. Normally when they talk about him, they talk about him well, and maybe it's because he's dead.
No, I mean Ed was a sweet man. Really salt of the earth type stuff.
Yeah,
he really believed in the concept of the NWA. He and I shared. I did an interview with him at one of the Greg Price deals, and we aired. I think we aired. I know when he died, we put a soundbite out from it, but the whole interview was really interesting, and we shot it at Hammond, Indiana, at the Hammond Civic Center, because I did a show there, and that was Ed's territory. So Ed was involved, but Ed was telling me about the magic of wrestling and why he got involved from being in bands and concerts and being a roadie and all that. And now him and his family just fell in love with wrestling. And, people from the area, the Ace Steels and Danny Dominions and Kevin Quinns of the world, have a different perception of Ed because he was if you want to call him the mark promoter of the time, he was. He was a vice president at a production company called Jam Productions, and that's how he got into promoting wrestling, was because they had venues and a little bit of money, and then he got into the belt business with Reggie and blah 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 blah. But no, Ed's a sweet guy, and I miss him to this day. Ed had no reason to defend me when I joined the organization and was younger and was loud about change. Everybody hated me, and Ed stood up for as much as Ed could stand up. But Ed stood up and protected me every single time. He would rap his cane on the table, call an order. He would call people that dislike shit kitchen goofs. He would write in the meetings. He would call Ernie Todd a dime store Indian to his face. Right in the middle of the meeting. Oh, that was Ed.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the story.
Well,
I never knew.
Well, hang on. Let me take that back. It was me under my breath and Ed repeating it out loud.
So you said the quiet part, and he said the quiet part loud.
He sure did. I was like, this fucking dime store Indian.
I've heard the story multiple times. I've never had official confirmation on who said
it. Was me.
Okay.
I had Ed Schumann over here, and I had Dave Republic over here, and all three of us fucking despised the man. I watched him steal room service from a door as we were walking to the meeting and ate someone else's food in the meeting. Dave, this is Ernie Todd.
Say again.
His first day as president.
What he said is, I don't think Jaden heard you, so I'll repeat it. Walking to the meeting, he picked up somebody's food for room service that somebody was waiting for, and he snatched it up and ate it on the way to the meeting. Ate it during the meeting.
In the meeting. While he was president, his first day, he was eating stolen fucking breakfast.
Fuck.
I heard it. I was about to say that's about as much carny as I've seen in wrestling. I've seen very similar shit in my life, and that doesn't surprise me at all.
Horrible. The other guy in Ohio was horrible.
That guy wanted to buy the NWA too.
What's that?
That guy wanted to buy the NWA as well.
Everybody, I tried buying it. The Anokis tried buying it through me. This woman named Jane Flood. That's how you guys get Dilip Singh. Like, it's all messed up. Like, it's so bad.
Well, thinking of all that. Now I have so many more thoughts. And
Dave, I know that you have.
Wait a minute. I actually kind of want to get back to my original question there when we started with Ed. So why do you? I mean, I know that Sheik promoted in Florida under Truman, but was Ed just so nice of a guy that was he a little bit blind to Sheik? Because a lot of us, question.
So the thing with the Sheik was, and he'll probably say it's not true, but it is very true. And how Ed presented it to us, which he shouldn't have done in one of the meetings, was when he was asked, and he may have been asked by either Trovich or Bill, why this guy? And granted, the Sheik was promoting pretty good shows in Florida, and often. But the true reason is his wife, I believe, worked for American Airlines, and we wouldn't have to pay for an airplane ticket. And then I suggested, well, let's put the North American title on him to see what kind of business he can do. And he proved in the very early stages that he couldn't do business.
Now that just brings up another thing I have to ask you about. So you mentioned it. He still has the belt that was made.
Yeah, that I made.
and that Craig Classic also
he stole the other belt. Yeah,
took the other belt, and so first thought on Craig Classic, was he just too young and stupid to realize that following the Sheik probably wasn't the best idea?
I didn't know him.
I mean, he was one of Sheik's guys.
Yeah, I didn't know him though. I don't know him.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't. If I met him once.
He was only champion because I couldn't arrange Ricky Reyes beating Quackenbush for it. I couldn't get Quackenbush booked because that was originally was supposed to be Ricky Reyes winning the belt. I say that every time. He only got it because I couldn't get it on Ricky Reyes.
Oh, I've never heard Ricky Reyes' name come up once as consideration for the World Juniors title.
Yeah, they were trying to get it off Quackenbush for any means necessary, and they were trying anybody, and Ricky Reyes was
when you say they, who is they?
Trobich was trying to get anybody.
Bob never talked about that with us.
He was trying to get the belt off of it.
Because all Bob wanted me to do was send it to Japan, which is what we did.
Yeah. I think that's part of how they thought they were going to do it, because Reyes was working in Japan too at the time, wasn't he?
Reyes really wasn't working in Japan at that time.
No, not at all.
No.
Not even Mexico.
No.
I know he was doing Puerto Rico around then, because he was the he held a junior heavyweight championship there, and I swore he was working in Japan too.
No.
Yeah, no. Reyes and I have been friends longer than most people understand. I knew Reyes when he was in junior high.
But that was the original plan, because before Classic got it, because they were really trying to get the belt off of Quackenbush.
That's interesting. I never heard that.
I had
it.
Yeah. He never told me who. And for people who want to know who my secret source was back in the NWA days of those time, I talked to Bob Trobich a lot. So whenever people were going, oh, who's his unnamed source? It was Trobich. And
I'll never tell my source.
Well, Trobich unfriended me after he quit. So, just. I mean, he did.
I still talk to Bob to this day.
Yeah, he did, but it's been long enough now that it doesn't matter.
The next time you talk to Bob, tell him I said hi.
Sure.
I will.
Hey,
anyway, I remember I had a conversation with him that he was looking. He never said who. He never told me who, but that he was looking to get the belt off Quackenbush at all costs, because we were complaining about the tag team champions who were the Skull Crushers, and we're complaining about the junior heavyweight champion who was Quack, because they were holding the title like 2+ years, and they had stopped defending it like 6 months after.
Well, that's not their. But the thing is, that's not their fault.
Right.
It is their fault. I tried to book Quackenbush 100 times. He was.
Yeah, maybe he had a problem with you. I always used him anytime I wanted him.
He probably did. Apparently, I have heat with everybody without even know how I got it. Half of it, I think, is just by association.
I do too.
Yeah. I think in half of it's by association. People I know, because people hate me because of people I know. But
I've done nothing but become successful. So everybody hates me.
That's the best way to become hateful or hated, to become successful.
I don't give a fuck. I mean, I think everybody knows that. I don't give a shit. But it's like with Bob or Quackenbush or the Skull Crushers, because I think we put the belts on Los Luchas after that in Texas when the opportunity came up.
No, the Los Luchas took
or
the
was
belts
it the other
off
way around?
Yeah, the Skull Crushers took the belts off of Los Luchas.
Okay.
Skull Crushers lost
because nobody wanted to book them either. No one wanted Los Luchas. And Los Luchas were fantastic and cheap, but no one wanted to use them.
Well,
is it because they were?
I've always heard this as a problem. Tag team champions are hard to book because nobody wants to pay twice as much for a.
And anyone is hard to book because no one wants to pay anything.
Well, that's true. But, if you're booking, and I don't know all the costs for everybody involved. I hear stuff all the time. I don't know, but it can be contradictory. And some of it's because I suppose guy charges one promoter one thing, another promoter something else. But, I've just always heard, if I want a title match, I'll bring in X champion, which they never did. And but I'm not going to pay for 2 wrestlers for the tag team belts. I've just
That's
heard
their
that.
business. Yeah, that's their business. I mean, history proves and shows that I paid for everybody to go everywhere.
They've brought in every champion. I mean, Mike DiBiase is the North American champion. Apollo as the North American champion. Phil Shatter is the national champion. Dark City Fight Club, or no, I'm sorry, no, you didn't bring in Dark City, but you did bring in the Skull Crushers. And there's a misnomer too that Dave was the only one that booked Adam Pearce, which is total bullshit. Because if you look at Pearce's title defenses, he actually worked less promotions associated with Marquez in that first year as champion than he did for Marquez. He was working in Virginia, he was working West Virginia, all over the place.
Well, that's because Adam's a good business person, and he
100%.
He knew how to talk to everybody and brother them the right way and make what's his name O'Brien feel like someone important.
Hey, speaking of that, let's talk about official Alliance guy member Kevin Frazier, Kevin Douglas, who was the junior heavyweight title champion. He used Mountain, California. So what do you think about him? We often called him kind of like the Adam Pearce because he was wrestling all over the country. Anybody that was willing to book him, he went, for a fair price. We called him coast to coast one time because he started the week on doing a fire taping in New Jersey and ended the week doing Hollywood taping.
He literally one weekend was on an episode of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and the same weekend he was on an episode of NWA on Fire.
Yeah. He was also on, if I remember, he was also on Mountain State that week too.
He might have been.
And he was and that didn't even include shows in Texas for non-NWA promotions.
Sure.
So I like to give Kevin a hard time.
I like him. He was a good guy. I liked him. But how he got around and the deals that he made were very unique because him and the Manimal would drive everywhere.
Right.
So it was it was a economical thing for everybody, and everyone was happy.
By the way, Kevin had only like the best things to say about you. He always talks glowingly about his time working in Glendale and Anaheim, and even that first casino show that you guys did. Nothing but good things to say about you.
Well, sure. Thank you. It's I try to be fair, and it's when others who don't want to cooperate, that's normally when friction starts. And I've never been one to keep my mouth shut, even though I was the kid. I was old. I mean, I'm just going to be 50 next week. So I've been doing this a long time. And
great. Makes me feel older than I already feel.
And yeah, but think about it. I've been making television since 94. So
you were really a kid in 94. Well, I saw the photos.
I've been watching television since 68.
Oh, good for you.
Well, probably not watching in 68. That was the year I was born.
If I was born in 68, I'm sure I would have been watching it too. But seriously, this is in February. It will be 34 years of me being in wrestling, and everybody that I was around, I've always taken something from, good and bad, and how to utilize both good and bad to get to what you need. It is politics, exactly what people talk about. Not politics, how they're going to fuck people or this or that. I don't subscribe to that. But within the business side of it, we're all our own little countries. We're all our own little kingdoms, fiefdoms, whatever you want to call it. And you have to cooperate and work with people. And how to trade stuff, how to work with stuff, how to Impact's bringing somebody, New Japan's bringing somebody, I'm bringing somebody. How do we all work together in the ecosystem, sharing on flights and hotels and fees and all that stuff. And it's kind of like the United Nations where we all have to get along. And sometimes it works fabulously, and sometimes it just 100% implodes. And it's not because there was an effort behind it to be positive to begin with. So, that's just my perception on how this stuff works. But yeah, the NWA, I was a part of it for 24 years, not consecutively, but in a 24-year span. And I think we did an awful lot of good, way more than we did bad, and trying to legitimize the organization was the difficult part because you had so many people that didn't want to legitimize it. And now, again, not to get into real politics, but when people are hiding things and who they really are as humans, that's usually why they're against stuff. So there's so many scandals now and things that here's a prime example. It's not a secret. Mike Porter was in trouble for doing ugly things in his mortuary. Horrible. But we had, and it really was red state, blue state in the NWA. Absolutely. And we had all these red state people trying to kill one of their own. And 60-70% of those people all were in prison and has been proven that they did something horrendous.
Yeah.
And they were the ones keeping the organization down and progressing. And they've all fucked themselves for being pieces of shit.
We're going to put that on the t-shirt right there. Dave. Go ahead, Jaden. Go ahead.
I don't get this opportunity, so I'm going to take advantage of this. I love hearing somebody in the television business. That's my thing I always wanted to be, and I love hearing that. Now, I made a statement earlier that I don't think that it's good to have a lot of wrestling promotions fighting for scraps. I see it in New Jersey where there's 72,994,811 promotions all trying to run, most of them trying to run the same damn building or within inches of each other. Back when I remember when there was barely anybody promoting in Jersey, especially South Jersey. And I see the same things, people using the same wrestlers, or the same talent, or using people that don't even belong as fans, let alone inside the ring. And there's not a lot of quality talent out there, in my opinion, that people are fighting over in the major promotions to present a company that's a competitive company. I 1000% believe that if somebody with actual money could take the best of MLW, the best of Impact, the best of the NWA, and under one banner, take every wrestler that's somebody that deserves to be on television, they could be competitive promotion. But unfortunately, everybody else, there's some good guys here, some good guys there, some good guys everywhere. Am I wrong in believing that there should be maybe a third viable promotion, something different, something that's not sports entertainment, something that's not whatever AEW puts on, something that's using the wrestlers out there and give a real true alternative? Wrestling will be stronger in the process. I got you. How we?
I'm not saying you're wrong, but there are those alternatives. I mean, different strokes for different folks. GCW seems to be doing fine. They're going around the world. Whoever's financing that, they're doing it. And they're the ones getting the headlines. And I directed that for, probably a good year at GCW. I didn't care for a lot of what they did, but not to say I know how difficult it is to draw in Los Angeles. And they have full crowds every show. So to try to create a conglomerate, I just don't see that that's something that won the industry. I hate that term, but I said it. The wrestling sphere needs. It also then, like a lot of people like to say, the WWE is a monopoly, which isn't true at all. We have to be able to go out and do what we do. And when you talk about a WWE refugee, someone who is no longer there, they were all once upon a time with us to begin with anyway. So they're put back in the general population. It's just how you look at it. Not spin it, how you look at it.
My perception, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So, the Northeast has always been interesting to me. I didn't make it out there, I feel, because I don't have that wrestling perception, since the WWE is so close to Jersey, New York, or whatnot. But I did have a great relationship with the Savoldi family, and they're right in the middle of all that stuff, and we're so connected. But they never even looked at it that perspective, like, oh, this is this. No, they just went out and did shows and made money, or stole money, or whatever you want to say. I saw Dennis Carluso steal tons of money, so it's
Yeah, he's an
it's what it
interesting
is.
character.
It's what it is. It's we
My
need to
favorite.
have our own. We need to have our own operations. And here's what I do. Like, let's use Willie Mack as an example. When he works for me, he's a different persona. When he's on Impact, he's something else. Or even Zicky Dice. When he's with me, or Peter Avalon, he's Hulk Hogan when he's with me. All of those people that I just talked about. But everybody else, they're just job guys.
Real quick, I've taken some medications that are starting to wipe me out. But I want
1968, we get it.
68. My brother was 58. And yes, I'm old. But I do want to thank Dave for coming on here. I think this is proof. We always respect our guests when we come on here, and I certainly appreciate the chance to talk to Dave and ask him questions. We don't always see eye to eye on things, but the one thing I've always given him credit for is his production values and the work that he's done. He's been around a long time, and I don't want to take anything away from him. But I do need to say goodbye, and I do want to say thank you, Dave.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you later, DK.
Since I have Dave on too, I wanted to say this to Jay because I know Jay's going to get a kick out of it. You are the reason that I say that Dog runs events, not shows.
Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is I'm quick to call his events shows, Dave, and he corrects me almost faster than you could blink. No, Jay.
Dog doesn't run shows. We run events
every single damn time.
And he told me that at the was it the NWA Legends Fan Fest is when he first told me that.
Yeah, it's just like it's just the public. The public's already confused about everything in general. And then you want to put something like a show. It's like, well, what do you mean a show? Because when I was a kid, you go to the movies, you were going to the show. Like,
yeah,
you didn't go to the movies then, you were going to the show. You're looking up show times, so that's my other problem with the term independent wrestling. I despise it. It's horrible because the public for, at that point, 100 years knew it as pro wrestling, and then all of a sudden it's independent wrestling, and people are like, what the fuck is that? That backyard wrestling? Is that,
Yeah.
So it's just, nomenclature is very, very important. And us people within wrestling, no matter where you're at on the totem pole, we don't do ourselves any service. We are the ones killing ourselves. We are killing wrestling. Us, the promoters, the wrestlers, the people on the inside. It's not the fans. It's us.
He's right. He is right. Wrestlers have killed. How many times, I'm sure you say the same thing, how many times have you met a wrestler who really should have been on the other side of the guardrail?
Well, that part doesn't, I'm not talking about that part necessarily. There's always room for someone, and it's just, whether you want to use them or not. I mean, I've used people that I've questioned over time, why we gave them the opportunity, for sure. But I'm not even talking about the wrestling. I'm talking more the presentation to the public and how you speak to the public and the perception the public is making on what you're saying, because these people only know, Andre, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. Those are wrestlers. Even an Adam Pearce is a nobody to people. And even when I talk to people today, even in the mainstream, that Adam virtually is the star of SmackDown, that, even today people don't know who Adam is, unfortunately. And he's on television more than any of them.
Dave, I don't know if you remember this. You probably don't, because it probably happened more than once. One of my best buddies who doesn't watch your product at all, only had been to a handful of indie shows back in the day, but is a huge WWE fan. Happened to be WWE. Yes, I said it right. Okay. Happened to be at Disneyland once when you were there with Shane and Adam and a couple other guys, and he recognized Adam because he had seen Adam at a wrestling show before, and he walked up to you and says, "Hey, my friend really enjoys your show, and I just wanted to say hi." And you guys looked at him like he was the weirdest dude ever. And he still tells me that story every time we talk about California wrestling. I bring it up, and he says, "Oh yeah, remember that time I said hi to your friend Dave?" I said, "Yeah, I remember." Anyways, it
was probably the situation. We were probably trying not to be noticed or doing something that we probably shouldn't have been doing.
Well, Dave, I appreciate you so much jumping on here. I would love to have you back on in a proper interview type show when we have some news to announce, when you have something to tell me. But I do want to say thank you for coming on. You know, a lot of people hear us say things on this show and then they're like, "Oh, these fucking guys." But you actually came on and at least tried to help educate, and you know, the people in the chat have been eating it up. Everyone in here is saying things like, "Oh, you know, Dave saved championship wrestling. Dave saves wrestling." You know, there's been a lot of comments that people are thanking you for your coming on and all that good stuff. So, you know, we go back a long ways, and I appreciate you always. You know that. But thank you for jumping on with us tonight, Dave.
You got it, man. And thanks for everyone to say the kind words. And if you're thinking ugly thoughts, at least you're thinking. So thanks for those too.
All right, we're gonna say goodnight, Dave. You have a good one, and I'll give you a buzz later.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, have a good one.
See you guys.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I wish I got to talk more, but DK kind of took a lot of my things. I want to ask so many questions.
And then he sends me a private chat. He's like, "Hey, I gotta go." I was like, "What the? Why are you still talking then?" So we're gonna end the show here because 3 hours is long, way too long for a podcast. Way too long.
Let me just tell you, I hate almost everything about Power. There.
That's fair. I kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't the worst. But hey,
just because something isn't the worst doesn't mean it's good either.
You got to lower your expectations with the NWA. Hey guys, we do appreciate that. There's still 14 of you still here watching the show, which is great. I hope you like that. We're going to try to get some more interviews lined up over the next couple of weeks as we lead to 75. We'll do a little bit more interviews and a little bit less show review because I think there's more value in that. But we're going to take off now. Jaden, I know that you know, there's some potential shows coming up. Excuse me, some events coming up.
But there might be an event coming up. Dr. Zirconium signed something.
Can you talk
about it? Man, I
it?
even called you out on it.
I know.
But August 6th, Glassboro, New Jersey, Dog is once again taking part of the charity event Pause for the Cause. I'm not exactly sure this time what the cause is for this time, but every year they do a different thing they try to support. Last year was autism. I'll find out more when I find out more. But it's a really good thing. It's a free event. Anybody can come. And there'll be a lot of great wrestlers and Daredevil Dave Dahl there.
And that's going to be in Glassboro?
In Glassboro, New Jersey. I forget the exact field. I know it's not Owens Field, but there's maybe even it is Owens Field. I don't know. But it's free, and there's going to be police trucks and fire trucks and helicopter. The police helicopter is going to be there, and bouncy houses and
face painting.
What was that?
Face painting.
There will be face painting. Hopefully this time I don't get in trouble because Patch decides he wants to go play in the bouncy house.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll have time to talk about this more next week. Of course, visit dogprowrestling.com or visit their YouTube channel. A lot of great content is always going up on that channel. And hit comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff for that page, because again, it's good quality wrestling. I think if you enjoy what we enjoy here on this podcast, I think you'll enjoy the wrestling you'll see there. But we're gonna wrap it up now. Of course, Tuesday we'll be back with a pre-party. Wednesday the other guys, and then of course we'll be here on Thursday doing something. Thank you guys for hanging out.
No, this is what happens. I watch a pay-per-view, DK oversleeps. I watch Power, and we don't even get to review it. I should just stop watching NWA and be smart again.
All right, man. Well, we're going to call it a night. Have a good night, guys. Until next time. Oh, I need to get the video up. Oops. See, look at me. I'm so ready to go.
Oh, real quick. See that shirt that Jay's wearing? Buy that shirt!
You get that on the dogprowrestling.com website. Check that out too. All right, guys, we'll see you next time at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.